him a restraining order.
I did not hit him.
Did the judge grant him a restraining order?
I'll plead the fifth.
It doesn't matter.
This is Judy Justice. Nadine Unger is suing her former friend, Michael Ponsford, for damaged property and filing a false police report.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3166, Unger versus Ponsford.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Unger, your cause of action against the defendant has a couple of parts. First, you're suing him for having you falsely arrested.
Correct.
And then you say that he damaged some property which he was storing for you in a unit.
Correct. At his
Okay.
house.
Those are the two things that you're suing him for. He has a counterclaim for property damage, which he's going to tell me about. So first I'm going to deal with your complaint, because I've read your papers, and it appears to me that you two have known each other for a long time. And at some point after knowing each other for a long time as friends, you began a relationship. In what year was that?
We didn't begin a relationship. I rented a room in his house.
Renting a room in his house, if that is some sort of a relationship, that's more than shaking somebody's hand.
It's a relationship. It's a
Well, I
business
understand that, but you were, in fact, in a relationship with him while you were living in his house. Could you give me an answer, yes or no? That's a very easy answer. The answer is yes.
I'll plead the fifth.
What? Miss Unger, please don't play with me. You have a claim, and your first claim is that he had you arrested. And what I am trying to establish is the ground rules for that part of your complaint, having you falsely arrested. You knew each other for a long time.
Yes.
Let's not play with each other. You moved into his house, and when you moved into his house, you began a relationship with him after a period of time.
After a period of time.
Okay. Very good.
May I present some evidence?
No.
Sorry?
While you were living in his house, in the year 2022, 2 years ago, according to you, he had you arrested for domestic violence. And the incident surrounding that, I'm going to encapsulate, and tell me if there is anything inconsistent with what you wrote in your papers and what I'm saying.
Okay.
On this date in 2022, you took his phone. You took his phone to make a call, and you went into another room in the house.
No. He gave me his phone. I asked if I could use it. He gave me the phone, and I went into his shop.
That's exactly what I said.
In the shop. It's not in the house. And I locked the door of his office so I could use the
Madam,
phone.
it's all pretty irrelevant to me, because what I read, what he says happened, what you say happened, are two different things. But putting it all together, you took his phone, you went into a room, you locked the door, and according to him, he tried to get into the door, and he wanted his phone because you were looking through his phone. And when he finally got into the door with a key, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it was his house. He said that you assaulted him. You left the house subsequent to that. According to you, on that day, you went out to a movie and you went for something to eat, and then you went home. That's what it says here. And you went home, and when you got home, the police were there, and they arrested you for assault.
I was arrested for assault. I did not hit him.
Just a second. You were arrested for assault.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. And you were taken to jail. And you were in jail for how many days?
7 days. But I didn't hit him.
Just a second. We're getting to why it doesn't matter, Miss Unger.
We're
getting to why it doesn't matter.
If I hit him or not?
Yes, we're getting
matter?
to why it doesn't matter. So you went to jail for 7 days. And when you got out of jail, you contacted the defendant and went back.
No, I couldn't.
And you went.
There was a restraining order.
Back to the house.
No.
Are you telling me that after this alleged assault, you and the defendant, I've read your papers, you and the defendant did not go back to having a relationship for a period of time?
No. Never.
After she was released from jail, we made arrangements for Nadine to get her belongings. Is that what happened?
Correct.
Shortly after that, she came to me and apologized and wanted to rekindle things.
No.
She told me how overwhelmed she was, and her outburst was a one-time thing. She never officially moved back in, but she stayed at my house most nights. Are you telling me that that is not true?
That is not true.
Did you ever stay at his house after you got... Careful what you tell me. Did you ever stay at his house after you were released from jail?
No.
Have any proof that you did? That would be anything after September 18th, 2022.
I have the...
No, just a second. Don't speak. Just look.
Well, these...
Don't speak. I'm resting. Just find. Any communication with her after September of 2022?
I didn't say I never communicated to him, but I'd never spent the night there. He won't find anything. There's no evidence I spent the night at his house after that.
I don't know whether you did or not.
I did not.
I had screenshots taken of conversations, but nothing's dated here.
Okay.
There's no proof because it never happened.
I'm not so sure, Miss Unger, because I don't think that you were actually totally honest with me. In any event, he filed a restraining order against you, a temporary restraining order, according to what you said, and the restraining order was granted. Yes. Was it granted after a trial?
A hearing.
Well, a hearing, a trial. You appeared before a judge.
Yes.
And you were sworn to testify.
Yes.
And you testified.
Yes.
Well, you had to testify, and he testified. Other than the two of you, did anybody else testify?
No.
And after the hearing, which has the same quantum level of proof that I have here, the judge granted him a restraining order.
The judge said he didn't.
Just a second. Did the judge grant him a restraining order?
He did.
For how long?
6 months.
Nadine Unger claims her former friend, Michael Ponsford, damaged her belongings and filed false charges against her. Michael is countersuing for property damage.
Okay, I can't here, nor will I, overrule that judge's opinion about whether or not he was entitled to a restraining order. And his restraining order was based upon the events that took place in 2022, correct?
Yes.
Just that event. That was the only kerfuffle that the two of you had, I assume.
No.
It's the only time you were arrested.
Correct.
Okay. Well, the judge has already ruled on that, so I'm not considering that. It's not part of your case anymore. It's already been adjudicated.
I have the arrest report.
Have what?
The arrest report where she was arrested.
Does it take her statement as to what happened?
No.
It states that...
Shh, don't tell me what it states, then I can read it.
Your Honor, I counted 32 lies in that statement to police, the arrest report.
Mm-hmm. Police report indicates that you had a relationship with him for 2 years.
No.
Not true. Okay.
I moved in July of 2021.
And moved out when?
When I was arrested.
And never came back?
Never came back.
Okay. In any event, that case has already been adjudicated. Another judge heard evidence on it, and whether or not there was sufficient showing that he was entitled to a protective order. That court found that he did, and I'm bound by that court.
Those charges were dismissed.
I don't care whether they were dismissed. The dismissal is beyond a reasonable doubt. The quantum of proof, on the other hand, in a civil proceeding is much less. And a judge who heard his request for a protective order granted it to him on the same facts that you're asking me to hear. I cannot do that. It's called res judicata. The issue has already been decided by a court where the quantum of proof is exactly the same as it is before me. I'm not relitigating that case, Ms. Unger. Do you understand? I don't care whether you understand. I don't care whether you understand or not. I've just explained it to you. You want to consult with an attorney? You can do that. The attorney will explain the same thing. You've had your day. I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
You've had your day in court.
I did not have a day in court. That's why I'm suing him for damages of filing a false police report.
No, madam. You did have your day in court before a judge.
That was before the charges were dropped. The charges,
listen, please.
Criminal charges were dropped after the...
It doesn't matter.
After the...
It doesn't matter. This is a civil proceeding. You had a similar civil proceeding before a judge who heard you testify as to whether or not you assaulted him, and he testified as to the nature of the assault, and that court found...
I didn't testify, though.
You just told me that you did. Could you read that back when I asked her if she told her story? Either you testified or you consented to the order. That's the only way. Yeah.
It says, and you were sworn to testify, yes, and you testified, yes.
I did not testify.
So when you told me you testified, you were lying to me?
It was a long time ago. I did not testify.
It was a long time ago, too long ago for me, too. There was a final order of protection granted for 6 months. That case is finished. Now let's talk about your property.
I brought a video of the assault when she hit me in the office.
I'd like to see that, by the way, just for giggles.
Me too, for giggles.
Get out of my office.
Get out of here.
He is.
Get out of here.
You get out of here. I'm not doing
Get out of here. Give me my phone and get out of here. God. Oh! Ow! Ow! Ow!
So fake.
Ow! She took my phone. I told her to get out of my shop, out of my office, and now she's slamming the door and twisting my foot.
That is so staged.
Ow!
You're not a good actor.
Okay, turn
I'm
it off.
not even in the picture.
Turn it off. You were in the picture, Miss Unger. In any event, it really is totally irrelevant. That case has already been adjudicated with the granting of an order of protection to Mr. Ponsford. Now let's get to the property that you say was either taken or destroyed. Tell me what property was either taken or destroyed.
All right, I have pictures. There were 6 vending massage chairs.
Just six vending?
Commercial massage chairs.
And where were they?
They were in my storage unit that we brought to his house on August 29th.
Of what year?
2022.
We're now in 2024.
Yes, I had no resources. I had no money when I got out of jail. I had no money. I had no car. And
what? And you have no case. We're finished. Your property's abandoned. If you left property, it's abandoned. It's done.
I couldn't go back.
This is 2024. You couldn't go back. You had an order of protection that was for how long? 6 months. 6 months. We're 2 years later. And I'm telling you, you have no case.
He says
so
you're a goodbye.
So you're a goodbye. I have a counterclaim. I want to know if it's as ridiculous as her claim. Your counterclaim is from what year?
2022, Your Honor.
2022. Pay careful attention to me. Have you been incarcerated since 2022?
No, ma'am.
Have you been hospitalized for more than a week since 2022?
No, Your Honor.
Where have you been since 2022?
Living and working at my home.
Very good. Then you should have brought your counterclaim, which you could have acted as a claim in 2022, correct? Just answer my question. That's why courts say you have to act within a period of time that's reasonable. 2 years is not reasonable. I say that to her with regard to the property she's fetching about, and I say the same to you. You have a problem with her damaging your property. You should have brought an action 2 years ago.
I dwelled on it for a while.
Well, dwell on my dismissal for a while. This case is over.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I planned on having a case for 2 years, putting it together, and, didn't get a chance.
This case was a great display of timeliness and why it matters, especially in courts. I think 2 years is a long time to wake up every single day and you still have the property damage every single day. And then you don't decide until one morning, maybe I should sue for that. And it takes up court's time. And not to say it's not important, but if it was that important to you, you would have sued in a timely, as you said, to the reasonable person, which in this case is you.
Well, it's unreasonable. You're putting the defendant in a position of having to respond to a cause of action without any specificity. And that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Case 3156, David versus McLean. All parties, please come forward.
Verona Davis is suing her son's friend, Leonard McLean, for a refund of catering services for her birthday party.
All right, Miss Davis, you were planning a birthday party.
Yes.
You were planning, and it was a big birthday party, and you hired the defendant to prepare the food for the party.
Correct.
And it is your claim in this lawsuit that he served bad food.
Correct.
Verona Davis claims her son's friend, Leonard McLean, owes for a refund of catering services after he served cold food during her 70th birthday party.
Okay, so the birthday party was when?
December the 16th, 2023.
How many people were there?
Approximately 60, 70 people.
Well, I need to know how many.
70 people.
So 70 people were being fed?
Yes.
And he charged you $1,800?
That's correct.
Or $25 a person?
Correct.
Correct?
No.
How much did you charge her?
$1,900.
Did she pay you the $1,900?
No, she paid $1,800.
So stay with it. $25 a person. Okay. And how many courses was he supposed to serve?
It was courses of fried chicken, baked chicken, codfish, roast beef, meatballs, tossed salad, potato salad, string beans.
Okay, that's a lot of food for $25 a person. Okay, and you had your birthday party, and you claimed that the food was bad. The fried chicken was not well cooked. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
The baked chicken?
The baked chicken was not well cooked either.
What about the roast beef?
The roast beef was raw.
Do you have any photographs for me?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
I'd like to see the photographs of the food that you're talking about. I don't see anything wrong with these pictures. I see you have circled a piece of fried chicken, and you have circled that it looks as if it was bloody inside.
Correct, Your Honor.
But there's nothing wrong with the other pictures you showed me. This doesn't do it for me.
Your Honor, if you see, it's pink in the middle.
I saw that. He acknowledges that. He said he took it off. When you showed it to him, you acknowledged that you saw that the fried chicken had red inside, and you took it off. That's either a yes or a no. That's what you say in your answer.
Yes.
Getting hungry and testy.
I'm sorry.
So just answer my question. Don't think about what I would like to hear or what's good for you. You say in your answer you took the fried chicken off because it wasn't prepared right.
Yes.
Okay. Did she complain about any other of the food to you?
No.
Okay. You didn't complain about any of the other food in your complaint either.
I complained after the party, Your Honor. We had a meeting. We had 3 meetings. I explained to him the chicken was half cooked. I have complaints from my guests.
Just a second. Can't tell me about complaints. The fried chicken, he acknowledges, was not cooked enough. Next. I looked at the other pictures. There's nothing wrong with the other pictures of the other food. Nothing. What do you want me to see in the other pictures? Look perfectly fine. You were feeding 70 people for $1,800. You never said anything was wrong with the baked chicken. You said there was something wrong with the fried chicken. So what did you have meetings about?
Your Honor, I complained about the baked chicken and the fried chicken after the party when I called Lenny up and showed him the chicken because he gave me a thumbs up. I said, come here, I need to show you something. When I showed it to him, he acknowledged that the chicken was half cooked. Also, the chicken was cold. Everything was cold. So when I told him that, he explained to me that his worker cooked the food, right? So I explained to him later on, the next day, because he sent me a text saying that he apologized for the food was bad and he apologized.
Oh, I'd like to see, just a second. If you have a text that he apologized to you because the food was bad, other than the fried chicken, which he acknowledges, I'd like to see it. Just a second.
Yes.
Just a second. Very nice. He says he apologizes for the fried chicken. That's it. He said, I need to truly apologize for the mishap with the fried chicken. He took responsibility for it, for the fried chicken. So people didn't eat the fried chicken.
Nobody ate the fried chicken.
Good. Nobody ate the fried chicken. Everybody ate. There were a lot of other things for them to eat. By the way, did you have a contract for $1,900?
Because she's a family friend, I didn't do a contract.
What kind of accommodation? Because she wants the full amount she paid for you. That is never going to happen. You served one dish that was not cooked.
Correct.
What kind of accommodation were you prepared to make?
I was willing to reimburse her for the price of the fried chicken.
And how much was that?
For 2 pans, it was $250.
For both?
Yes, $125 each.
Did he offer that to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You should have taken it. You had a party. People ate. If you don't like him as a caterer, don't use him again. He acknowledged he made a mistake. His chef undercooked, or whoever it was, undercooked the chicken. He was prepared to give you a substantial, based upon the whole number that you paid, accommodation of $250. I'm telling you, you should have taken it and run.
Ma'am, may I say something?
Say whatever you want.
Okay, Your
In
Honor.
30 seconds.
Okay, real quick. $250 he offered me plus an $800 food credit. So I explained to him, if you offer me an $800 food credit, why should I use your $800 food credit when you ruined my party? It was my 70th birthday party, and he humiliated me in front of all my friends and my family.
Let me explain something to you. I had several weddings, 2 or 3 of my own, a lot of weddings for my children, even a couple for my grandchildren. And every once in a while, there was a bad dish. But everybody ate and everybody celebrated because they were celebrating your birthday or a wedding. So don't give me tears because the fried chicken was bad. You should have taken the $250. Are you still prepared to offer her the $250?
Yes, minus the $100 that she still owe me.
Well, all I want to see is that she owed you the $100. She said $1,800. Show me the conversation where she was supposed to pay you $1,900, and I will certainly do that unless Miss Davis acknowledges that the bill was supposed to be $1,900.
You want to acknowledge that?
Just don't ask her.
I'm sorry.
I asked her. She understood me.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Do you acknowledge you were supposed to pay him $1,900?
I acknowledge I was going to pay $1,900.
And that you gave him $1,800?
I gave him $1,800.
Okay, so that I will give you the credit for the $100 she didn't pay you. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I'm happy with the decision.
Nobody didn't eat any food at that event.
I tried to offer her the money. We didn't have to go through this.
It was very disappointing. It was humiliating, and it was horrible.
These are things when people try to be greedy. This is what happens.
My 70th birthday party, and it was ruined.
You know, I really thought that defendant did everything he could to make it right. Sometimes things get undercooked and served. He was notified about it by her at the party. He pulled it away as soon as he heard, took accountability, said, I'm so sorry for this one dish out of many that didn't turn out how it should have, and I'm willing to give you this discount. Obviously, you don't have to pay for it. And I thought that was a pretty stand-up response. So I thought he did everything right, and I think the right thing happened in the end.
Me too. Your contract said you would perform for 3 hours. You left.
After being threatened by him and several of his drunk friends, yeah, we didn't want to play after that.
He's having a huge party. You didn't perform.
I rolled up to about 10 people. 5 of them were toddlers. There was nobody there.
I don't care if there were 2 toads and a lizard on the ranch.
This is Judy Justice. Singer Sophia Rolando is suing her former client, Ryan Birdwell, for breach of contract, car damages, and towing charges.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3176, Rolando versus Birdwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Birdwell, I'm going to start with you, sir. The case is relatively simple. The plaintiff says she was hired to perform at a function that you were putting on and that you didn't pay her. And the agreed price was $3,000. That's your claim. That's your claim.
Yes.
What do you hesitate for?
I hesitate because the price of the event was $1,500, but I'm also suing for damages and the tow truck that accrued moments after the incident.
Were you born here in California?
I was born in Wisconsin.
How long have you lived in California?
Almost my whole life, of 25 years.
Well, counts for some of your nonsense. What kind of function was this, sir, and where was it being held?
It was being held in Boulevard, California, and the function was, it's an annual spring party we do up at a ranch we have called the Shreddy Ranch, and we hired her to perform.
No.
Sorry.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Sorry about that.
I asked you what kind of function it was.
It was an
annual function. And what was the date of the function?
I believe April 12th. I don't know. I'm not clear on the dates.
Well, find out. That's what you're supposed to know. You're a party to this action.
April 15th.
Of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people were you having at the event?
About 150 people.
What time did the event start?
The event it's a 3-day event. It starts from Friday to Sunday.
And what day was the 15th of April?
Saturday.
Saturday night, so right in the middle. Do you serve food?
Yes, we have it catered on Saturday.
When you say we, who's we?
Well, me. I had the party catered.
Okay. Who is the host of this party?
I am.
You are. You paid for it?
Yes.
Okay, and you do this every year?
Every year. We actually just got done with our 3rd annual party just last weekend.
I have enough from you. Now, Ms. Rolando.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, the defendant saw you perform sometime in March.
Yes, March 18th, 2023, at the Ritz-Carlton Laguna Niguel.
And you're a singer.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I want you to tell me the exact conversation that you had with the defendant, because he came up to you after you sang, and he approached you about performing a month later at his event.
Yes.
I want you to tell me exactly what he said to you and exactly what you said to him.
Over text or the in-person conversation?
Well, he didn't speak to you in text the first time he spoke to you. He came back to see you.
Okay, my recollection is that he came up to me and told me that it was going to be his wife's 40th birthday party.
Just a sec. Did he say, I liked your singing?
Well, yes.
I want you to tell me exactly what he said to you.
All right. He said, I loved your performance. I'm throwing a big birthday bash from the 14th, 15th, and 16th of April. I would love to have you come on the 15th. It's going to be the biggest day with hundreds of people, famous people, drones and cameras, and you're so good. That's the day that I would like you there.
Great. So you understood that it was a big event.
I did understand that.
Great. And you said, fine. He must have said, how much do you charge?
Actually, there was a little bit of discussion in between that time because on the 15th, I was already scheduled to play a festival with my band on April 15th, 2023 at Kushstock Festival in Adelanto, California. That's very far from where Mr. Birdwell lives. And so I told him I have text evidence, before we ever signed any contract, I told him, I will not be there. I'm coming late. I'm probably leaving this festival by 5 o'clock. I will be there before 10. And you will get your 3 hours.
I would like to see that in a text.
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is what the case is about.
I have those text messages.
The party started at 7.
Yeah, she was supposed to perform at 7.
Party started at 7. He says you were supposed to be there from 7 to 10. When you got there, and that's a matter of dispute, it was well past 7. Another act was performing, an act that Mr. Birdwell had commissioned to perform from 10 to 1. So there would be continuous entertainment. When you got there, you found another act performing, and Mr. Birdwell said, well, you can perform stop playing, because you're not listening to me if you're playing.
I'm sorry.
Got to pay attention.
Yes.
Mr. Birdwell said, well, I already have this other act because you weren't here. You can perform from 10 to 1, and you said no, and you left. That's the case, right? That's the case.
Yes, that's the case.
So far, you're not losing. If you're not losing, I keep my mouth shut so far.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the case. Okay. Now, I would like to see first a contract.
Yes.
Do we have one?
I have one.
May I see it, please?
And in the contract, she never signed the contract.
Shh. You see, you always add something.
Sorry.
You always add something. Okay, so you contracted for $1,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
That is correct. And this says description 3 hours.
Yes. And I did.
Shh. Okay. And he sent this to you on March 21st.
Yes.
He sent it to you on March 21st. Well, it's dated March 21st. You didn't sign it.
Okay.
Singer Sophia Rolando claims her former client, Ryan Birdwell, breached their performance contract after Ryan and his friends threatened her during his party.
Now, you didn't sign it.
I did sign it. I'm not sure why he received an unsigned copy.
May I see your signed copy?
Yes, you may. Oh, thank you.
Well, now I have a signed copy with signatures on it.
Yes.
And this says 3 hours, doesn't specify the time.
Yes.
Is that right?
That was purposeful.
Shit.
Yes.
That was purposeful.
Yes.
Okay, so you were commissioned to sing for 3 hours, according to you, unspecified hours. Just a sec. That's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Great. Now I'll see the text messages back and forth where you discuss time.
Okay.
Not okay. First text message, second text message with the dates.
Yes. So the...
Oh, don't say anything I can read.
Okay.
He says on March 19th, we would love to have you there to start playing at 7 p.m. on Saturday, 4/15. That's the last thing that this is here.
There's more.
That's March 19th. Next. And the next one that you hand me is April 15th. So between March 19th, you signed a contract for 3 hours, and the next communication that I have is April 13th. Excited for this weekend. Can't believe it's already here. Going to be awesome. Hey, Ryan, I just want to make sure there is any dress code, and my pianists know where whatever you want, people are going to be wearing whatever is on the ranch. Super fun. I'm coming from a weekend festival. I'm playing too, so I'll be wearing what I'll be playing there. Then I have the Saturday, April 15th at 10 of 12 in the morning. Hey, can you send me your address? Send that as soon as you can. Thanks. Oh, I actually got it. Sorry. All good. See you soon, and we'll hang out. We hope to be there for the Downbeat 7, but we're pretty far away at this fest. But we're about to play, and we'll be out of here by 4. That's what you say to him, and you say that to him on April 15th. That's the first time, unless you have early.
I actually,
well, I'm
gave
just
you the wrong
reading
page.
this.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just reading this. You say, we hope to be there for Downbeat at 7, which is when you were supposed to be there. So let's make that clear. Let's make that clear. You knew you were supposed to be there at 7 because you say, we hope to be there for. You mean you didn't write this?
I'm sorry, I did write that, but.
Pay attention.
Yes.
You wrote,
yes, Your Honor.
On the day of the event, we hope to be there for the Downbeat at 7, but we're pretty far away from you at this fest we're about to play, but we'll be out of here by 4. We're gonna be there later than 7, but you'll have your 3 hours either way, and we'll keep you updated. 4:35 in the afternoon. And then on the 17th, I'm not interested. All right, you have things that you want me to read
I do.
before this.
Yes,
okay, but on
yes,
the
I do.
date of the event, 2 days before the event, you say, we'll be there at 7. Now, let me see the other thing.
Did not say that 2
Don't
days.
speak. Just give it to me. Nonsense. I don't want to see anything that happened before March 21st.
But that's kind of the most important part for me, because I told him before we ever signed the contract, I will not be there by 7 p.m.
Just a second. Hey. You're supposed to be a professional. He's having a huge party.
That's why I offered him a different date.
Don't speak.
I'm sorry.
Don't speak. You're suing him. You didn't perform. You're suing him. You didn't perform. You're a professional. He's have 150 people there. And you said, we're going to be late. We're leaving at 4, but we're going to be there after 7. Now, you're the professional. What did you expect to happen with 150 people there and the entertainment wasn't there? What did you expect to happen, Miss Professional?
Your Honor.
No, I'm asking you a question. Did you expect them to just go on with the party?
First of all, I expected.
That's what you expected.
I expected the party that I was promised. I rolled up to about 10 people. 5 of them were toddlers. There were no cameras, no drones. There was nobody there. I am a professional.
Just a second. Was there another group playing when you arrived? You swore to that.
Yes, and when I arrived.
You arrived, there was another group playing.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, which he.
What's up? There was another group playing. I don't care if there were 2 toads and a lizard on the ranch. There was another group playing for the 2 toads and a lizard, and the defendant and his wife. There was another group playing.
Yes.
What time did you get yourself there? Be very, very careful. There's a way to track it. What time did you get yourself there?
I was in the.
That's a time that I was in.
8:40 p.m.
What?
Between 8:30 and 8:40 p.m.
Okay, so between 8:30 and 8:40. That's not 7:15.
That's because
don't speak. That's not 8:15. That's not 7:15.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I promised him I would not be there by 7 before we ever signed a contract, which is why I offered him 4:14, because I was completely free that day. I told him in text, March 20th.
You think you're the only singer?
March
you think
20th.
you're the only singer in California?
No.
Just a second. You think, madam, I mean, I don't know where the headspace is here. They raise a bunch of babies here, and maybe if you're in the entertainment business, you're a double baby.
Singer Sophia Rolando has accused her former clients, Ryan Birdwell, of breaching their contracts after he threatened her for refusing to sing at a later time.
Somebody hires you for a function. You say, I'm totally free.
I told him I was busy that day.
Don't speak. I'm totally free on the 14th. Well, he didn't want you for the 14th. He wanted you on the 15th. A professional would say, I'm far away on the 15th.
I did tell him that.
Hey, don't speak. I'm far away on the 15th. I don't think I can do the 15th.
Exactly what I said.
I don't think I can do the 15th. So maybe we'll do it next year. Maybe we'll do it at another time. I have one other question. When you arrived at 8:45 and you saw the other group singing, because From what I gather, put your paper down. From what I gather, the group that was supposed to perform at 10 was there early.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had booked from 7 to 10 and then someone after, so there'd be continuous entertainment.
Exactly.
Now, when you arrived there, be very careful with your answer. Did the defendant say you can play from 10 to 1? Be very careful with your answer. Did the defendant say...
He actually had no idea who I was and said, I thought you canceled. That's what he said. He said, I thought you canceled. That's what he said.
I want you to answer my question. Did defendant say to you, you can sing with your band from 10 to 1? Be very careful what you say to me. Did he say you can perform from 10 to 1? That's either a yes or a no. Your silence, I would assume that he offered you 10 to 1.
After many threats, yes, he offered that.
He offered you. What's wrong with you?
Sorry.
What is wrong with you? Are you? Is this your wife who turned 40?
Yes, sorry. I have a text
My
where
sympathies.
she admitted that I asked her to play. Sorry, Your Honor.
I know that you
Second.
did. I haven't been able to say one thing of importance.
Just a second. Sir.
Sorry.
Is he always like this?
Yes.
Is he always like this? Okay. You must have other attributes that I don't see. Do you understand? Your contract said you would perform for 3 hours. If he wants you to perform from 10 to 1, you perform from 10 to 1. You left.
After being threatened by him and several of his drunk friends, and they were belligerent and threatening us like this, every time I said the word contract, he got even more pissed off and threatening us. Yeah, we didn't want to play after that. We also had work in the morning, and he knew I wouldn't arrive until after 8. We had a phone call before I ever signed this contract because I am a professional, and I knew I would never make it at 7 p.m. I told him before the phone call, I will come and play before 10 p.m. Me arriving there and having to wait an hour and a half is him breaching our contract.
Oh, you think so?
Yes, I know so.
No, you don't know so, madam. You don't know. So your contract is very, very clear. You can't have it both ways. You can't use, and I'm going to tell you, it's a nuanced part of contract. This is your contract. You gave me the signed contract. Any parole evidence outside parole, not written in the same form as this contract, which is signed on both sides, is inadmissible when it's a contract. This contract said you will sing for 3 hours. You didn't sing for 3 hours.
I felt very threatened, so I left.
Well, that's too bad. I'm sorry. That's why I'm talking about people raised in California. They feel threatened. This is my space.
He was a drunk.
No, he was a drunk. My space.
He was a drunk, and his friends were drunks as well.
You're interfering with my personal space. You signed a contract.
They were drunk and belligerent.
Listen,
and hovering over us.
Madam, you do not appear to be a shrinking violet to me. Most people are intimidated by me. You are not, which suggests to me that you weren't intimidated by somebody. Well, then maybe a little therapy will help. You signed the contract, 3 hours. You didn't perform. He gave you the opportunity to perform from 10 to 1. Your case is dismissed. Grow up.
This court is adjourned.
I feel that he breached the contract.
I fully agree with the judge's decision.
Because he hired another band 2 days before I got there.
I knew right away that lady was out of her mind.
The contract was that upon arriving, I was going to start performing, not wait an hour and a half after I drove 5 hours and came on this day when I told him I had another day free.
She never performed once. We gave her every opportunity to perform.
But I told him I was coming from, basically across the state.
And honestly, I really wanted my chance to even go further into depth into how crazy that lady really is.
Him and 3 of his friends who approached me upon immediately being up there all drunk and big and huffing and puffing and cussing at me every time I said the word contract.
No, I did not witness that. He was talking to her and he was confused because she was so late. He was like, who are you? Where did you come from? He had thought at that point she wasn't even going to show up.
It would be too soon if I ever had to see Ryan Birdwell again.
So then when we realized who she was, he said, go ahead and play. Play when they're done. And then she didn't like that answer and stormed out of there after that.
You know, I got a little shiver down my back when you talked about the parole evidence rule. I spent a lot of time on that in contracts. But it's for a reason. It's so that when you have 4 corners of a contract that's signed by both parties, that's either specific or non-specific to certain parameters. You can't just bring in extrinsic evidence to fill in what you want the contract to have said in the first place. So it's a good rule, one that I spent a lot of time learning and one that finally was useful today.
Contract said simply 3 hours, $1,500. There's no question that The text messages revealed that she was supposed to be there at 7 o'clock. She may have been a little late because she's coming from another gig. But she expected, when she got to the gig, to go on right away. Yeah. Well, another act had been filling in for them. That act was supposed to start at 10 o'clock, which means that if she went to work when she arrived, that means that he wouldn't have had music until the end of the party. Yeah.
What you get for showing up late. You got a good end of the deal. You could have held up the contract and could have performed, and you chose not to. You don't get to sue them for that.
Do you know what the cause is for that kind of thinking? It's the everybody gets a trophy mentality that somehow generationally has come about. When I was growing up, if you came in first, you got first prize. You got a trophy. Maybe even they had a second place. Then you have one for third place, one for most congenial, one for the best pair of socks, one for the most gracious outfit. So everybody gets a trophy. And the everybody gets a trophy mentality produces that kind of thinking. Her thinking, when I get there, I am the head soprano at the Met. You can't replace me. I'm the only singer in California, and I'm here. Get the other group off the stage. My group is here, and now that's my space. That's everybody gets a trophy. And if we continue to do everybody gets a trophy, the next generation is going to be worse. He gave you a dog.
Correct.
And then took the dog back.
Stole the dog back, yes.
I object. He was just watching the dog for me.
He had the dog for 4 months, feeding it, taking it to the vet.
Why would I give him a $10,000 dog?
I don't give a rat's behind.
The dog is good, it's my dog.
I don't give a rat's behind. Do you understand?
This is Judy Justice. Anthony Williams is suing his family friend, Michael Bowers, for stealing his French bulldog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kim.
Case 3103, Williams versus Bowers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Williams, your case is a relatively simple one. It is your claim that Mr. Bowers, who you knew, gave you a dog.
Correct.
And then took the dog back.
Stole the dog back, yes.
Took the dog back and refuses to return him. It's a male dog.
Yes.
The defendant says you were just supposed to watch this dog temporarily because he breeds dogs and he and his family were moving and they moved into a place where they couldn't keep dogs, but then he could keep dogs. And he says right now he doesn't even have the dog, whose name is Gizmo, because he breeds dogs with a partner. And the dog has been at this partner's house for breeding for how long?
It's been a few months now, ever since I got the dog back from Anthony.
You have to know something. I know something about dog breeding. And I know that a male dog doesn't have to stay there during the course of an entire breeding of the 63 days that it takes to gestate a puppy. Because I know that you modified your answer, and your modified answer to his complaint is, I don't even have the dog and I can't interrupt the breeding of the dog, which takes months, and that's baloney. So I want you to know that I know that's baloney.
Yes, Your Honor. We was breeding the dog with multiple dogs. So we have a boy dog, and we have 3 females. So we breeded with one, and it was like a process. We just kept them together. That's why they...
Now you're going to get him back. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your friend's name?
Logan Jean Pierre.
Sarah's going to find him. Telephone number?
I have it in my phone.
Get it. Get ready, Miss Rose.
Oh, it's going.
All right. 678.
Now put the phone down. Now tell me where he lives, because he's your partner, so you have to know where he lives.
In Norcross, Georgia.
Okay. Sarah Rose.
Sure.
Where'd you go give this fellow a call?
Sure.
And find out what the status of Gizmo is.
Sure.
Okay, now I'm coming to you, Mr. Williams.
Yes.
So while Sarah's getting that information, this is what your case is about. According to you, he contacted you. He said, can you take care of this dog? Do you want this dog?
Yes.
We're moving and we can't keep the dog. You said yes. When did that happen?
He called me on April the 12th of 2023.
And you knew the dog. What kind of dog is it?
It's a French bulldog.
How much does it weigh?
I think when it's 28 pounds.
So that's called a Frenchie. They're small
Yes, a
dogs.
Frenchie.
They're Frenchie. They're small dogs.
Yes.
Do you have a photograph?
Yes.
May I see it? And you knew Mr. Bowers how?
He's a family friend.
I'm calling in regards to Michael Bowers and a dog.
How many dogs did you have on April 12th, 2023?
I have 2 dogs that I own myself.
Males or females?
Both of them are males.
And your partner, how many females does he have?
I don't really know. The last time I saw was 2 there.
When was the last time you went over there?
I was over there a couple of weeks ago.
Cute. How old is the dog?
He's 2 years old.
Okay. When, for the first time, did Mr. Bowers indicate to you that he wanted the dog back? He said he wanted the dog back for breeding.
That would have been in July, but he was only supposed to have the dog for 2 days.
Just a second. So for a full 4 months, you had the dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me what happened in July.
Can I go back a little bit before that? The defendant, when he delivered the dog to me, the dog was in bad condition. I had to bathe the dog. I had to take him to get his nails cut. He had no shots, so I had to spend hundreds of dollars taking him to the vet to get his shots, and I have the paperwork from the vet.
I have shots for the dog. The dog already had shots before he got there.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Also, Your Honor, I got extra shots for the dog because when I spoke to the vet for a French bulldog, since they have smashed in faces,
just 1 second.
You asked Mr. Bowers to take Gizmo then because you had the other male. How many female dogs do you have?
These are from 2021. The dog was just born in 2021.
That's the last shots that we had.
Those are puppy shots.
My business partner does the shots himself. He does a lot of...
You know, this is not going to fare well for you. I don't think. Not that I'm prejudging. Okay, so tell me what happened. So now you took care of the dog, cleaned the dog up, brought the shots up to date, and...
And also, he was a 2-year-old dog. When I got the dog, he was not housebroken at all to be a 2-year-old dog.
Okay, so it's clear if the dog wasn't housebroken, the dog was kept crated most of the time. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the person with whom Sarah is now commiserating on the phone, he also keeps the dog crated because the dog wasn't housebroken.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a yes.
The dog is for business purposes.
I don't care what the purposes are. I just want to know how long this 2-year-old little French bulldog is kept in a crate, is what I asked you. By the way, I have to get some stuff in here so that you understand how business this is. You come from Georgia, correct?
Yes.
And we flew you here.
Yes.
And I assume you want us to fly you back.
Yes.
And when you're here, you're going to get an appearance fee.
Yes.
And you want that, right?
Yes.
Good. And so we're going to listen to whatever I tell you, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Because otherwise, you may have to learn to love sunny California so you can earn a bus ticket to go home.
Nah.
Got it?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
And you know, I don't say anything that I don't mean.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had the dog for 4 months, and then you called him. And what I gather is you wanted the paperwork for the dog.
What?
Just that's what you said. You wanted the paperwork for the dog because you wanted to breed the dog.
Yes.
And after that call, he said to you, I want to come over and pick up the dog because I want to breed the dog once more.
Correct.
And you let him come and take the dog.
Correct. He was supposed to have him for 2 days.
After the 2 days, did you have any communication with him?
Yes. Actually, the defendant sent me a text message on July the 21st that he wanted to come pick the dog up.
Okay.
He was supposed to have him for 2 days.
May I see the messages,
So in 2
please?
days, I sent him a text message saying, okay, are you bringing Gizmo back today?
Oh, he had a lot to say.
Okay, sit down for 1 second, Sarah.
Anthony Williams claims his family friend, Michael Bowers, refuses to return his French bulldog, Gizmo. Michael says Anthony watched the dog, but never owned him.
Before I read this, which clearly says, Morning, Mike, that's you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You still bringing Gizmo today. That's July 23rd. And then July 24th, he writes again, Hey, Mike, you bringing Gizmo today? And then you answer him. And you say, no, they'd probably be done today, so I'll bring him tomorrow.
Yes.
Did you bring him?
No, the reason why I didn't bring him is not his dog to bring. He was just watching the dog for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Now let's hear about...
Yeah, so Logan had a lot to say. He is actually the papered owner of Stitch / Gizmo.
Yes.
And they purchased the dog in March of 21. They went 50-50 on the price, which was $5,000. They each paid $2,500 from a friend of Mr. Jean-Pierre's in New Jersey, but said that he was in his care for maybe a week or two. The reason that they were asking him to watch the dog is because Mr. Jean-Pierre had 5 dogs in his home, 3 females, and already had 1 male in the home with 3 females in heat. So to have 2 males in the house would have been a little rowdy. So they had the plaintiff take Gizmo for that period.
Is that what they told you?
I've never spoken to this other gentleman that she's spoken about, but when I spoke to the defendant,
go ahead.
He said that he felt comfortable with the plaintiff taking the dog when the defendant presented it to him. Seemed like a good enough guy, like he would take care of him, had a nice house.
And he is the registered owner.
Yes, he said he's the only one. He has his last name. He's the only one with the AKC papers.
Okay.
He believed he forwarded a picture of it to the defendant prior to coming here today.
Fine. So from what I gather, he has a $2,500 investment in this dog, plus whatever shots it was, and they've used the dog for breeding.
Oh, twice. I asked how many times they've bred him. He said twice.
Twice. So now I want you to do the following, Sarah. I'd like you to call him back.
Oh, great.
This is a unique situation because I can't resolve this with a third party. Would you ask him if he is made financially whole? Will he agree to allow Mr. Williams to take the dog, which will be used strictly as a pet? You prepared to do that? Otherwise, I may not be able to resolve this, sir. Do you understand?
That's why I'm suing. I do want the dog back. The only thing is the...
Do you understand? Which means that you're going to have the dog neutered and he will be a pet.
Yes, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Find out.
And by financially whole, you're referring to the $2,500
that he said he invested. Don't care about him.
Okay.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
If you give me an order and we go back to Atlanta and I have to pick the dog up, I don't trust that the defendant will hand over the dog.
You're going to get the dog from his partner.
Well, Your Honor, I have other text messages of the defendant promising to bring this dog back to me because, at this point...
I'd like to see them.
Yes, at this point, I'm a dog person and I love the dog.
No, I don't believe you, sir.
And why would I give him a $10,000 dog that could just get back to my car?
Just a second.
I
believe him. So you don't give a dog to somebody. You say, could you watch my dog for a week? And you have a partner. So if you have a partner and the living situation prevents you from keeping the dog, it's going to be for a longer period of time.
Excuse me, I have a lease that prevents me from having dogs.
I don't care if you have a lease or something from the Pope. It makes no difference. I believe you that you said you couldn't keep the dog for a while.
So that means I just give up ownership of the dog because
you never had ownership of the dog, sir. The dog belongs to somebody else.
Yes, I do. Me and him co-owns the dog.
He says that he owns the dog.
We co-own the dog. We got a business
good.
together.
That makes it even easier for me. May I have that, please?
That's the business license that we have together.
Yeah. You answered his question. Mike, you're going to bring Gizmo over. You're going to bring him back. Let me know. Please, you're coming back tomorrow. And you finally answer him. He is, but he is still with my friend right now. He's going to bring him back soon. The dog's just mated. And then Friday, August 18th, he says to you, what's up with Gizmo? Every day he's writing to you, what's up with Gizmo? When are you coming back with him? And you say to him, Friday, August 18th, yeah, I'm bringing him back before the weekend is over. Good, I miss him. How'd we do?
No dog. He does not wish to relinquish his rights to the dog. He thinks that even if the plaintiff is correct in his more monthly caring for the dog, as opposed to what he said, which was a few weeks, nothing compares to the years since March of 21 that this third party has owned the dog and cared for him and made him a part of his family. So he's not interested.
That's just it, Your Honor. They don't care for the dog. The dog is just left in cages. Like I said, at the time that I got the dog, I had to bathe him, take him to the vet, get his nails cut.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, Mr. Bowers. Your partner says the dog has been with him for most of the time.
Between the two of them for most of the time, within the partnership of either Mr. Bowers or the third party.
Well, you can't be housebroken in one place and not be housebroken in another place. Either you keep the dog in a cage or you don't keep the dog in a cage or a crate.
Me personally, when he's with me, I don't have him in a cage. I don't believe in cages.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You just told me you
that's
did.
Not true.
Whitney, can you go back? I thought he said, when I asked him about crate, do you keep the dog in a crate?
He might sleep in a crate, but he's not there all day long.
The dog wasn't housebroken, sir.
The dog was housebroken. You just taking his word for it. The dog was housebroken. It was at my house all the time.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Just a minute. You said at the beginning the word was crate, not cage, crate.
He did seem to care for the dog, and even when I mentioned the $2,500 and making him whole financially, he did not seem to waver in the slightest.
The plaintiff said he is not housebroken at all to be a 2-year-old dog. You said, so it's clear that the dog wasn't housebroken. The dog was kept crated most of the time. The defendant said, yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
Anthony Williams is accusing his family friend, Michael Bowers, of stealing his French bulldog, Gizmo. Michael claims he only asked Anthony to temporarily watch Gizmo.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
This is my conundrum. I'm prepared to rule today, and I'm taking at face value the fact that he and his partner co-own the dog. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot order the partner to relinquish the dog to you. I have no control. If I had the partner under my jurisdiction, if you had in fact sued the partner, I may be able to, but I can only rule on his ownership of the dog, which I am prepared to do today.
This is the first that I'm hearing about the co-owner.
partner.
I thought that, right.
I assume that this is the first you're hearing about.
Right, and for me, I feel like for me to be made whole, of course I would want the dog back. Like I said, I don't trust him in giving it back, but I feel like the only way that I can be made whole is for him to pay to get me another dog if I do not get Gizmo back.
No, you're going to be made whole by paying all of your bills for the time that you had the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Because you did that with the understanding from him that the dog was going to be yours. So economically, you'll be made whole. Now, emotionally, if you can't be made whole because you're not going to get the dog back, I can't order the dog back from the legal owner. But he has to hurt some.
He don't have any proof that I said he had the dog.
Mr. Bowers, I think you better quit while you're ahead, sir. You acknowledge the fact you did that he had the dog for 4 months. Do you want me to read that back to you?
Because my lease agreement does not allow me to have dogs.
I don't give a rat's behind about your lease agreement or any of your personal problems. Do you understand? If there was, in fact, a misunderstanding between the two of you, he suffered by treating the dog as his own, feeding it, taking it to the vet, having it groomed, and because of your misrepresentation, he's going to be made whole. Now, you can make your case to a judge locally, where you come from in Georgia, why you should have this dog, but I can't make a decision without having somebody here who is the titled owner of a property. Now, I want you to tell me, sir, what your vet bills were.
I think you...
Yeah. Maybe I know.
Have that paper. Your Honor, is there anything because this case was like very emotional. I had to take off work from this, and I do have paperwork from my doctor. Because I was worried about the dog.
The dog is good. It's my dog.
But he wasn't good when you gave him to me.
He was up to date with everything.
He was up to date on the shots, but
I'm looking for something here in your paperwork. I have 368, 257.
Your Honor, and I also have paperwork of everything. I bought the dog off of Amazon, his monthly flea and tick, everything. I have all that here.
Must be at least $1,000 there.
If not more that I've spent.
Okay. Well, I'm adding up the vet bills now. The vet bills now also total very close to $1,000.
Can I say one other thing, Your Honor?
Sure.
Before you proceed? You know, even if I was not to get Gizmo back, I still would want animal control to go over to this address because the defendant
That's very, very easy, sir.
The defendant showed me videos of the conditions that the dog were staying in. And when I seen the videos, there were cages in someone's garage of dogs stacked on each other. So they're not taking care.
Why wouldn't you do that before?
I didn't know the address.
We'll do that.
Okay. Once you get animal control, Sarah will be more than happy to get on and indicate to animal control that in addition to you, I would like to see a report.
Okay.
If animal control takes any of these dogs, what I am going to indicate is that the American Kennel Club should add your name as co-owner of the dog.
Okay.
That will prevent his partner, hopefully, that I've made this adjudication. Your name is to be added as co-owner, which means he can't sell these puppies without your permission. Do you understand?
Yes.
Tell that to your partner. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. In any event, we're going to issue that order to the American Kennel Club if that's where they're registered. I'm awarding you $2,500 in your lawsuit against the plaintiff, which covers all of your expenses, and $500 for your aggravation in bringing you here. It is absolutely appalling to me when I have a vision of these adorable little creatures that have no life at all except to breed and are kept in such a way, if it's true, that is so cruel and unkind, all for the purpose of a buck.
Yes.
Very, very sad to me.
Yes,
and I will do anything in my power to make uncomfortable a person who has chosen to do this as a business
Yes, ma'am.
and not taken care of their creatures appropriately. So that's my judgment. And then I leave it to you what you do in Georgia to see if you can get Gizmo home.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like it's strictly a business to them. They don't care about dogs. They're just about the money.
It was business on my end, and it was pets as well, but we bought it for business, but then we fell in love with the dog, so that's what happened.
The dog needed to not be crated. He just needed to be loved, a family, and trained, and well taken care of. And the most important thing is not sitting in a cage all day.
Dog was not neglected. He don't have no proof of that. He just have he say, she say. He never even been there.
Well, I'm glad that Judge Judy saw through his lies and all the mess. I'm happy that I brought the case to Judge Judy, and I'm satisfied with the verdict.
I hope it all works out.
What I would hope happens as a result of my ruling today happens, which would be that the American Kennel Club would add the plaintiff's name as owner of the dog, because as between the plaintiff and the defendant, I believe that the defendant led the plaintiff to believe that this dog he was giving him the dog because he couldn't take care of it anymore because of his lease.
Sure.
So as between the two of them, the people that we had here today, I believe that the defendant gave up his interest in the dog. So I've just taken away from the defendant today any issue that he has no rights to this dog in a business.
Okay.
Now, hopefully the AKC will do what I want them to do. Who knows? Things may get interesting when they all return to Georgia.
Yeah, we shall see.
It is your claim that the property was a mess.
Yes.
I don't think it needed to be cleaned. It had been cleaned.
There was dirt on the floor. There was bugs on the floor. There's black mold.
I paid to have it cleaned.
The refrigerator is disgusting. The stove is disgusting. It's disgusting.
It was clean.
I'm telling you that the place was disgusting.
This is Judy Justice. Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel are suing their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, for a security deposit and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 3121, Alonzio Krugel versus Schmidt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell me your last name.
Krugel.
This is your...
Fiance.
The two of you were moving from one state to another.
Correct.
You were moving with what other family members?
Our 4 children.
And you were moving from what state to what state?
Wisconsin to Minnesota.
Whose mother lives in Minnesota?
Mine does.
That's your mom?
Yes.
So you needed a place to live?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Your mother found a place, or did you?
I found the place initially.
You found the place?
Yes.
And your mother went to do a walkthrough to see if it was suitable for you and your 4 children?
Correct.
And found the defendant's, is it a home?
It's a single-family home.
That you own. When did you purchase it?
I believe I purchased it a month before I showed it to them. So no one had lived in it yet.
And when your mom looked at the place, it needed a good cleanup. And you acknowledged that, Ms. Schmidt, that it needed a good cleanup.
I do not.
Well, you sort of do in your answer, so that I want you to rethink what you just said to me. When you showed it to Mr. Krugel's mother, it needed a cleanup. You have to remember what you wrote in your answer. So if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
I don't think it needed to be cleaned. It had been cleaned.
I have it in your answer, but I'll get to it in a minute. So you loaded your kids. I assume you took a U-Haul or something of the like, and you agreed to rent the property.
Yes.
And you sent a month's security and a month's rent?
Yes.
In total, how much money did you send?
$3,000.
Which you received and deposited.
Correct.
What date did you send the money?
October 30th. I have the receipts for that as well.
Yeah, she acknowledges she took it. Now, up until that time, you had not signed a lease.
Correct.
And you acknowledge that. They had not signed the lease. When you got there, it is your claim that the property was a mess.
Yes.
And you actually did not move into the property and want your security and your rent back.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. And I'm not exactly sure of what your defense is, but you'll tell me. Is your defense that they had no lease or that they had a lease that they broke? What is your defense?
So we had an entire interaction. They actually did move into the property. They moved their belongings into the property.
Did you change the locks on the doors?
I did not.
At any time?
No. They're still the same locks that they were before.
You arrived on the property on what date?
November 13th.
Still no lease?
Correct. She mailed us the lease, and then we didn't have enough time to sign it and mail it back to her. And so we have in text message, she's saying we can just bring it with us, but we didn't want to sign it, so we...
Got it. So you got there on the 13th. I'd like you to describe what it looked like on the 13th.
Well, it was dark, so it was really hard to see anything. When we pulled up, the guys pulled the horse trailer in the back. So the guys were unloading that while Linda, myself, and my brother and the children started walking through the home, seeing where we were going to put everything, and that's when we started noticing, it was just disgusting.
Well, tell me.
There's dirt on the floor, there was bugs on the floor, there's black mold, there was water damage in the walls that she said...
Did you take any photographs?
I have a lot of photographs.
May I see them, please?
Yes.
And this was the day you were moving in your things?
Correct.
Or the next day?
The day we were starting to move in. And then once we started to notice...
Just a second. Some of these I'll ask you to address, some I won't. There's a lot of water damage. Kevin, would you show these photographs to Ms. Schmidt, please? I'll take them back now. Ms. Schmidt, from whom did you purchase this house?
Edina Realty.
Was it a person or was the house foreclosed?
It was a person.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't recall the exact price.
Give me a ballpark figure.
I would prefer not to disclose.
I don't care what you prefer. Give me a figure.
Around $100,000.
What do you mean around $100,000? What kind of work do you do?
I am a landlord. I'm a business owner. I have rental properties.
Okay, so that's what you do as a living?
Yes, that is a recent business that I've started.
Great. If it's a recent business, how many homes do you have?
I have 4.
Is this the last one that you purchased?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
I believe it was 100,000 something. It was between 100,000 and 110,000.
Yes.
I have a picture from the Zillow ad that tells the date that she purchased the home and how much she purchased it for. I also have a text message of her acknowledging the fact that her dad and the kids that cleaned the house said it was not clean enough.
Just a second. Before. I'm not there yet.
Okay, sorry.
Well, the estimate for the house is $94,000. It's sold for $94,000. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, in your answer to their request, which is their request for return of their deposit, although they're asking for a lot of other stuff, but it's for the return of their deposit, you say, since I had not even received the signed lease back yet, they were trespassing. That's what you wrote in your answer. I had the unit cleaned that same day. The next night on November 13th, I met them as well as the other adults. Who cleaned the unit the same day on the 13th?
So I paid one of my employees to clean the unit prior. I reached out after Linda entered the property.
No. Pay careful attention to my question.
I'm giving you a backstory.
I don't want a backstory.
Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel claim their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, refuses to return their security deposits. Faith is countersuing for loss of income and harassment.
Now, you said the house was clean. Clearly, this is not a recently cleaned house.
I paid to have it cleaned, and then because Linda had complained,
You would acknowledge that these pictures that I showed you. Just a second, you don't talk over me. You do acknowledge that this house, as the photographs indicate, because they were only there for a day, the dead bugs, the black mold do not indicate a recently clean property.
Yes, ma'am. May I tell you more?
First, I'm asking you a question. You looked at the photographs, and you have to acknowledge that these photographs do not reflect a recently clean property ready for people to move into.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when they got there, the place was not clean. When they arrived there with their 4 children, the place...
It was clean. These pictures were not taken by them. They were taken by Linda. Linda entered the premises before they were even there. She was not supposed to be there.
Just a second.
On the 12th. They did not arrive until the 13th. Linda took these photos. Linda reached out to me. Linda said the property was not clean. I have text messages that I hired someone to go over there and clean it afterwards, which he cleaned the stove, the air conditioner, the freezer. And
show me. Okay, so now what you're saying is that the mother took these photographs.
Correct.
And after she called you and said that the place is not clean.
While I was working, I was doing something else. I immediately sent someone over there before I had any communication with Tanner or Adriana.
Just a second. Fine. I want you to understand this. These 2 people traveled from one state to another with 4 children, ranging in age from
8 to, at the time, 14 months.
They wanted a place to live. They needed a place to live. If what you're telling me is that this is not a fair and accurate representation of what the place looked like when they got there.
It did not look like that when Tanner and Adriana arrived to the premises. It looked like that when Linda got there, which I was notified of, and immediately sent someone over to clean the premises.
Who?
I sent a hired kid. His name was Alex.
Is that you?
No.
Just a second. You just raised your hand. She said, I immediately sent somebody over there. I said, is that you? You raised your hand.
I also sent my dad over to ensure that the employee, he had done a good job cleaning. While I was doing something else, he also sent me videos of him cleaning out the freezer.
Just a second. I would like to see whatever photographs you have of what the place looked like before they got there. Show me. You already have a complaint, and you're a landlord. You have a complaint that the place was disgusting.
Correct.
And you have 1 day to clean it all up.
Yep.
Not yep, that's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't bring me the person who cleaned it. I assume you have photographs now that you know that there's a complaint. I assume you have photographs of what the place looked like when they arrived. That means no.
I didn't take photographs after, no.
Well, that's too bad.
I do have an inspection, though. A past inspection that says there is no mold in the home, and I've not made any alterations.
Just a second. Do you have that inspection for me to see?
Yes, ma'am.
On or about the 13th of November?
No.
No. Okay. Ms. Schmidt, this is not a difficult case. Either they had a lease or they didn't. In your answer, you said since they didn't have a lease, they were in fact trespassing.
They had no intention to sign the lease.
Just a second. No. You are incorrect, because that's not common sense. Common sense would suggest that people who are traveling across state borders with 4 small children need a place to live. They sent mother-in-law to look for a place to live.
And she said it was very nice.
Just a second. They sent her, I don't know what assurances they had with regard to cleaning it out. I don't know what her level of cleanliness is, but I know I wouldn't move into this place after having paid somebody $3,000. This place is disgusting. The refrigerator is disgusting. The stove is disgusting. The bugs are disgusting. The wood is disgusting. It's disgusting. Now, you want to be a slum landlord. That's your problem. But either they have a lease or they don't have a lease. If they don't have a lease, then they get their money back because they didn't move in to live. That's not difficult, sir, is it?
No, but I'd like to say something.
Sure, stand up and say whatever you like and uncross your arms when you do it.
Okay. When she called and said that Linda had called to complain about the place, So I did go up there and I met with Linda.
Linda is mother.
Correct.
And?
Correct. And we talked and we went over what the problems were. And so, as to my knowledge, we agreed on the fix. And I seen to it that we had a couple people come over and clean.
Before or after lunch, sir? Did you have it cleaned with a couple of people before or after you and a couple of people had lunch?
I don't know what lunch has to do with it. I don't know nothing about
I know what lunch has to do with it. So you knew there was a problem and you went to the house on the 12th, according to you. They were due there on the 13th and the place was disgusting. You would agree with that?
Yeah, I don't agree with the mold because the city of Spring Valley has inspectors that come around and inspect for mold.
I'm telling you that the place was disgusting. It was not a place where I moved into dozens of properties in my life, both inexpensive and expensive. The inexpensive ones, when I moved in, were clean.
Sure.
That's the way when I moved out of a property, I left it. If your daughter wants to be in business for herself, then she's got to learn how to be in business a good way.
Sure.
Okay? You have to acknowledge she knew that these people were coming across state lines. They were coming across with little children because Linda let you know that.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know who was moving in?
No, it's not.
Did you know who was moving in, Ms. Schmidt?
I didn't meet them personally. I met with Linda.
That's not what I asked you. Did Linda tell you that her son, her son's partner, and 4 children were moving into the house?
Yes.
Of course. This is not the way you expect a house to be. Common sense would indicate that you would then, after your father and his crew cleaned it, you would take photographs to show that it was not in this condition anymore.
Adriana Alonzio and Tanner Krugel are accusing their former landlord, Faith Schmidt, of renting them an uninhabitable property. Faith is countersuing, claiming the couple owes her for loss of income.
Now, I'm coming back to you. Either they have a lease or they don't have a lease.
We had a verbal agreement.
No, you have to have a lease in order to keep their security deposit. Did you have a lease? You said they had no lease. They were trespassing because you told them to get out.
So then they were trespassing.
Yes,
they were on my property without my permission.
Then they get their money back. What is so hard about that? Either they have a lease or they don't have a lease. You can't say they're trespassing on your property because at one point, part of the thing that they're suing about is because you went into the house and you came out with a handgun. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct. And because you felt as if you needed a handgun to defuse the situation that was developing on the 13th. Whatever it was, they left. They get their security deposit back and their month's rent. And if you want to be a big girl in a big girl's business, you got to do the right thing. This is not the right thing. Okay. You want to tell me, Ms. Schmidt, why you felt it necessary? Because I'm going to get rid of that part of your claim very quickly. Why you felt it necessary to come out with a gun on the 13th?
So when I went in there in an attempt to resolve the issues that they were complaining about the night of the 13th, I brought the walkthrough paperwork and we were going to fill out a walkthrough with everything that needed to be addressed. Instead of accomplishing that, we were in...
Okay, so what room did you go into first?
I walked through the back door off the porch into the kitchen.
What did they complain about in the kitchen?
They complained about the cleaning.
What specifically about the cleaning?
They complained about the dirt behind the fridge. They complained about the state of the fridge.
What was the state of the fridge?
There were stains in the back of the fridge that were not coming off with any cleaning.
What else?
They complained about the stove.
And what about the stove?
The inside of the stove.
That it was filthy?
Correct.
Okay. And did you see that the inside of the stove was filthy?
Not on that day.
No. You know, I don't believe...
On the 13th, it was not filthy. It was cleaned by Alex. I had cleaned. Those were... the stove and the fridge was very important to me that he cleaned those. We also talked about getting them new appliances because they weren't satisfactory. I was going above and beyond to appease them, and I told them that I would look for new appliances, that I wouldn't be able to provide them overnight, but that I would be looking for them and provide them with new appliances.
She has that in text.
That she was going to provide new appliances?
Yes. Correct.
Because the ones that were existing were unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
They get their security deposit back, $3,000. Your counterclaim is ludicrous. Lost income, damages due to false claims, rent, utilities, and harassment. How did they harass you?
She has reported my Facebook account, so I no longer can advertise. So I've had to do alternative routes of advertising. Before, it never cost me anything to advertise. Now I have to pay for advertising through the newspaper. I bought a rental sign. I've done things.
What was the harassment? She complained about what happened to her family when they came to this property that they were renting.
Harassment wasn't the word that I would use.
Well, what would you use?
She's dragging my name through the mud. She's going to the local bars. I have heard from
Just a second. You can't tell me rumors. If you have somebody who can testify that she said something about what?
My dad can testify because his employees are telling him.
He can't tell me what his employee. Listen to me. He can't tell me what his employees are telling him. He can tell me if they said something to him. So what? Did you finally find a place to live?
No, we have not.
Since November?
Correct.
Where are you staying?
Right now, we're staying at my parents' house. We had to move back to Wisconsin, so we are on air mattresses in my parents' family room.
Why were you moving?
To be closer to his family.
Anybody have a job?
He had a job, a potential job lined up.
In Minnesota?
Correct, yes.
What kind of work?
Property maintenance management.
What are you doing now?
Nothing right now. I started a new job in Milwaukee on Monday.
He had to turn down a really good job offer in Minnesota because we didn't have a
That's all. I just asked him what he was doing now, not woulda, shoulda, coulda. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. Counterclaim, whatever it is for, I don't even know, is dismissed. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This court's adjourned.
I did offer them 3/4 of their deposit back.
We wanted it all back. We didn't live there.
I put forth my best effort to find them new appliances, to hire someone to do cleaning. I believe I went above and beyond.
We had a verbal agreement that the house was going to be in livable condition, and as you can tell by the pictures, it was not livable.
Differently in the future, I think instead of hiring someone to clean, I'm probably going to clean myself, and I'm going to take photo evidence and videos of everything.
She knew a month ahead of time that we were coming, so it's not like it was sprung onto her the day before like she's trying to claim.
I'm not going to go out of my way to give them access to the property before I'm there. I'm going to do the walkthrough and ensure the lease is signed before they have access to the property to avoid us.
Being a landlord is not the job for her.
You know, I remember moving in somewhere when I was a junior in college, and, you know, they always take advantage of us college students. We'll live anywhere, sleep anywhere, we don't really care. But it wasn't clean when my roommate and I moved in. And I remember when we did the walkthrough thinking that if I ever became a landlord or, you know, anything in this realm of realty, that I would make sure that all the places that I would expect other people not only to live but to pay money for was up to the standard of somewhere that I would live. And I think that the defendant couldn't even say that she would be willing to move in there and live there in the condition that it was in either on the 12th or the 13th. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they wanted a place to live.
So I think her claim that they never planned on signing the lease or they were trying to take advantage of her, I don't believe any of that. No mother packs up an 18-month-old for no reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they were hoping to make a new life. It didn't work out. Yeah, she's a young person to have a little real estate business, 4 properties that she owns, and I give her credit for that. But you can't be a slumlord.
Yeah, I give her credit too.
Yeah.
But if you want 4 properties, they have to be 4 properties that you'd be willing to live in yourself, not
That's
subpar.
the answer. That's the answer.
Ryan Davis is suing his former landlord, Alex Zadie, for a false arrest and bail money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2027, Davis versus Zadie.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, a couple of years ago, you were a tenant of the defendant's.
Correct, Your Honor.
You rented a room from him?
Correct, Your
in
Honor.
his house. For how long?
For about a year, a little over.
From when to when?
2020, I want to say the beginning of the year till about the end.
Do you remember the dates that he was a tenant?
Yes, they're incorrect what he's saying. It was from May of 2020 to November 2020.
Does that sound right, Mr. Davis?
Something like that, yeah.
May, June, July, August, September, October, and when in November did he leave?
I believe it was by the 10th.
This is what your case is about. Briefly, it is your claim that you and Mr. Zadie had some sort of an argument.
Correct.
Which you'll tell me about. And Mr. Zadie called the police. You were taken from the premises.
Mm-hmm.
You were arrested, spent the night in jail, mailed yourself out. And this happened in 2020.
Correct.
In November of 2020. Your lawsuit is for false arrest and actual damages, you had to post bail, and for filing a false police report. The reason that you have delayed for 2 years in bringing this case against him is because you say you had another action pending.
Correct, Your Honor.
What was the nature of the other action that you had pending?
It was a speeding issue with the police.
Well, it's not a speeding issue with the police. Were you stopped for speeding? Were you arrested for speeding?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
You were arrested for speeding?
Yeah, and they called it a 2800 VC, if my memory serves me correct.
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's, I guess, evading.
Look into it.
In what city and state do you live?
Irvine, California.
Let me understand this. Very few people are arrested for speeding. You remember what you were arrested for, sir? You weren't arrested for speeding.
They called it evading an officer because I didn't pull over right away.
So you were evading an officer. Let's try that, Sarah.
Evading a police officer in a vehicle. It's vehicle code 2800-1.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, what does it say?
Prohibits evading an officer in a vehicle, which means willfully fleeing from a police officer when the officer is pursuing the person in a car or on a bike. The offense is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in jail.
Okay, so you had a misdemeanor pending, right? Anything
Correct.
else?
No, that was it.
Anything else historically?
Yes, I did have historical priors and cases and stuff from my past. Yes, I did.
Recent past or distant past?
Distant past.
How distant?
Years. I want to say 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't have to go into 2004. So you had this case pending and you felt that it was inappropriate to bring a civil case against him.
Yeah, because I didn't want the cases to intertwine, Your Honor.
They weren't going to intertwine. The case that he brought against you was eventually dismissed.
Correct.
In what month and year was it dismissed?
It was dismissed the same month, about 2 weeks after that.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. So let me understand this. He alleged that you assaulted him or threatened him. You were taken into custody. The DA examined the case and decided not to prosecute it.
Correct.
And that was 2 years ago.
Correct.
Well, I don't know who gave you advice, sir, or whether you did this on your own, but bringing a civil case against someone for something has no impact whatsoever on a pending criminal case, be it a felony or a misdemeanor. You know, if you were driving in a car and someone hit you in the rear in November of 2020, and you waited 2 years to bring that because you had this evading a police officer action and you thought that that was a valid reason, your case would be dismissed for the hit in the rear and whatever injuries you had, because you're supposed to bring these things in a timely fashion.
I understand.
2 years is not a timely fashion. Now that I've suggested that to you, I would like to hear what you say transpired in November 2020, to the best of your recollection.
On November the 9th, 2020, me and my former landlord, Alex Aditi over here, we had an argument about a guest that I had over.
Okay. You had an argument over the phone or in person?
Over the phone.
Tell me how that phone call was initiated.
He texted me some things, and I called him because I wanted to...
Okay. He texted you. Do you have a copy of that text?
No, I don't have the text.
Do you recall what that text said?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what it said.
I told him that he has to get his girlfriend out of the house because she's been coming in every day and night, staying there.
Okay. So you said, in effect, I rented you this room, not your girlfriend.
Correct.
You got to get her out of the house.
Yes.
Okay.
I had
you remember her
already
name?
addressed to him
Just a second. You remember her name?
Not.
What was her name?
Twana.
Now, when you
woman I
rented the
was in
room in May, just a second. When you rented the room in May and you moved in, did Tawana move in with you?
She did not move in with me.
So when you rented the room for yourself in May, you rented the room as a single person?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And when did you bring Tawana into the room?
It would be once in a while.
No. What month, sir?
I don't recall the exact month.
What month, sir?
It started happening like back in August, every day. It started one day, then every other day, and then it became constant day and night.
For how long?
For a long, long time, till towards the November when it just went out of proportion.
The argument was about having his girlfriend, according to you, practically living there.
Right.
And you didn't want her there?
No.
Okay, because you rented a room to a single man who, until the girlfriend started to come in, I assume you didn't have trouble with.
Right.
So that's what your text message said to him. in November, and as a result of that text message, you called him on the phone. I'm just trying to lay out the story.
Okay.
So you called him on the phone, and you said what to him, and he said what to you?
I don't recall exactly what I said to him, but I remember he told me to tell her, get the out my house, get the out right now. Your girlfriend is a. He was saying a bunch of derogatory things over the phone to me, and then hung up in my face. I'm working at the time, so when I came back.
Did you call your girlfriend?
No, I didn't call her.
Did you text her?
We speak regularly. We're talking all the time.
Then.
Yeah, she knew about it. She did.
Don't tell me what she knew. I just asked you if you texted her or called her.
Yeah, I did.
You did. And when you texted or called her, was she in the house? Was she in your room?
No, she was gone already at this time. When we were arguing,
she was... Just a second. Is that because he told her to leave?
No, she was leaving already. She had work to go to. She wasn't living there. She had her own place and job in Lakewood, California. And I would tell him that all the time, but he would always insinuate that, oh, no, she's living there. I'm like, no, she's not. She pays $2,000 in rent.
He lives in the house with you.
Right.
Now, before Tawana, had you had any difficulty with him? You moved in May. May, did you have any difficulty? No.
No.
June, did you have any difficulty?
No.
July, did you have any difficulty?
No.
No. You didn't have difficulty until Tawana came.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So he told you in a very rude way, if I accept that, to get Tawana out of his house.
Correct, Your Honor.
Then you came home from work.
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get home from work?
About 9-ish.
And Tawana was gone.
Yes, she was gone.
Had she taken her things?
There was nothing for her to take. She didn't bring stuff over there. She wasn't living there.
No, but she came over there and stayed a few days a week and never
Maybe
had any stuff.
Overnight bag.
Okay,
That's
but
it.
she took it with her when she left.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got home about 9 o'clock, and what happened?
I got home at 9, and I said, don't disrespect me and my woman. You know, this is a woman I love.
When you got home, you walked in the front door. Where was he?
He was in the kitchen, and he had a female guest there, too.
He's allowed to have a female guest. It's his house.
Yeah, right. The pot calling the kettle black, basically.
No,
Hypocrisy.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, if you rent a room to a single guy, did you have a lease agreement with him?
Yeah, I did have a lease agreement.
Did you have a written lease?
Yes, I did.
Did your written lease provide that you were going to live there?
Yes, it did.
Just you?
Yes.
Well, you bring in another person, that's in violation of the lease.
That's not in violation of the lease because there was nothing in the lease that said I couldn't have guests. He actually said I could have guests.
Guest is one thing. A guest is somebody that doesn't come with an overnight bag regularly.
No, he said
one
I
day,
could have an overnight
2 days, 3 days, 4 days. That's more than an occasional guest. That's somebody that comes and goes even when you're not there. Because according to you, you contacted Tawana while you were at work and she was at the house.
That's false.
Well, I thought you contacted her and then you said she left. She took a few things with her, probably just an overnight bag.
No, she was not going there when I wasn't there. That's false.
Are you saying that she was not in your room when you were not home?
When I was not there? No, she would not be there.
That true?
No, he had made a key to her. She would come as she pleased.
Did you make her a key?
False. That's absolutely false.
Did you make her a key?
No, that's
is my
absolutely
question.
false. No, I
Do
didn't
you
make
still
her a key.
speak to Tawana?
No, I don't. We kind of fell out of touch.
If I were to call Tawana and ask her whether or not you made a key, would she tell me she did or she didn't?
She would say that I didn't.
Didn't?
Yeah.
Phone number?
I have it in my saved.
I don't have her number saved here.
I'm not exactly buying the fact that Tawana did not have access to the home even when you weren't there. Even if it was just a half hour before you came home from work, sir. You work until 9 o'clock every night?
Your Honor, I had this to say about the whole key situation. I gave her my key when I was locked up in jail from his false police report. I gave her my property, and she had my key then to help me get the stuff out of his home. But I never went and made her a copy of a key anywhere.
Did she ever use your key other than when you were incarcerated?
No.
He says she did.
Ryan Davis claims his former landlord, Alex Zadie, owes for bail money after Alex had him falsely arrested.
Okay, so now you're having this discussion. He's in the kitchen. You come home from work at 9 o'clock, and you went into the kitchen to look for him.
Correct.
And when you found him, tell me what happened.
We had just a brief, maybe 2-minute conversation or argument, discourse about what the things that he said. And I said, you know, don't be disrespectful to my woman and me. And I said, you know, you're a bitch. I called him a bitch. I did. But I never threatened him,
No, you
harassed
said
him.
you're what?
That's it.
What does that mean? That's a half a sentence.
Well,
He was calling him a bitch. You are a bitch.
Oh, you were calling him?
yes, because he says these things over the phone.
He's a guy. Why would
Yeah.
you call him a...
Because he says all these things over the phone and he gets real loud and he's a completely different person when he's on the phone. But then when I'm in
you
his...
think that's gender neutral?
Yeah, at this point.
Well, there you go. That's why I have you here. Okie dokie.
So,
okay, so you were going, don't call me that. You called him a name, and then things got heated, and then what happened?
No, things didn't get heated. After that, he said, oh, that's how you want to do it? And then I said, if you want to get me evicted, you have to go through it the right way and do it legally and give me a 30-day eviction.
No, he must have said to you, I want you out of here because you called me a name. If you said, if you want me evicted, then he had to have said something about getting you out.
He didn't really see, I don't remember him mentioning anything about me getting out. I just remember the fact that he called the police to get me.
No, before he called the police. You're still in the kitchen. Do you ever leave the kitchen?
Yes, I did.
Where did you go?
I went to my room.
Okay. Before you went to your room, did you hear him on the phone with the police?
I did.
Before you went to your room?
Yes.
Okay. And
I didn't sit there and listen to his phone call. I took a video and I started recording because I didn't want to be made out to look like the guilty party. And I had it pretty much live streaming the whole time, which was an Instagram video.
Can I see it?
No, I don't have the video. The police
then it
deleted
doesn't exist. If you
Yeah.
don't have it, it doesn't
Yeah,
exist for my purposes.
Understood.
But you had it then.
Yeah, I did have it then.
You did. And the police came,
Yes.
and I assume if the police came, you showed them the video.
Yeah, I was showing it to him.
And despite showing them the video, they took you into custody.
Despite showing them the video, they
Just
took
a
me into
second,
custody.
despite looking at the video,
Yes.
which I haven't seen.
They didn't look at the video. They refused to look at it.
Well, let's go one step further. You see, Mr. Davis, this is why you bring actions right away, so that not only everybody's memory is fresh, but if I wanted to call a police officer who responded or whatever, that's why you bring an action right away.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So now you're taken into custody and you have a video that is totally, according to you, exculpatory.
I don't know the definition.
Exculpatory means it says that you were not guilty of anything.
Okay.
And you appear in court?
No, I didn't appear in court.
Never?
No, never.
Well, what happened to the case?
The case was thrown out. It was a DA reject because there was insufficient evidence that I did anything to him.
And you never showed the district attorney your video?
I didn't get a chance to because the video was deleted by the police.
The police department deleted your video?
Yeah, they did.
You are a terrible victim of circumstance, Mr. Davis. Did you ever make a complaint that the police department deleted your video that would be exculpatory?
No.
Why not? I would if I had.
Maybe ignorance of the law, I guess.
What?
I said maybe ignorance of the law, I guess. Not knowing. When you know better, you do better.
No, Mr. Davis. Actually, I mean, sometimes you really don't know what the law is, but you were smart enough, you said, to tell me, because you knew I would say, why wait 2 years, that you didn't want this action to conflict with another action. Well, that's a two-process thinker.
I've had something like that happen to me before where I had a criminal case and a civil case pending, and the dates were kind of intertwining and messing, and then about to get in the way of my civil case. So I didn't want to make that same mistake with this case, Your Honor.
Okay, so you want to tell me what your version of the events were of November 9th of 2020?
Yes, Your Honor. I had gone to Mexico for a business trip meeting, and I had my friend who was visiting from Mexico staying at my place, and at that same time, I had another roommate who was renting the room next to Ryan Davis's room. His name was Dave. I received a call from Dave on November 9th that it's constant sex going on.
Okay, so you received a call from the other person living in your house who you were renting a room to.
Right.
Okay, and then, don't tell me what he said. Can't tell me, that's all hearsay.
Well, I've heard prior to all the sexual acts taking place.
Listen to me. You personally,
Yes.
when you were home?
Yes.
Okay, so you heard what was going on behind his closed doors?
Right, day and night.
Okay.
Like there's
Fine.
no tomorrow.
Okay, well, maybe, maybe jealous. Okay.
Disrespectful.
Okay, so he was becoming an annoying tenant.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Yes.
Keep going. You sent him a text. He called you. You had heated words. He comes home from work. You're in the kitchen.
Yes.
He comes into the kitchen and
I told him Ryan, we've gone through this many times before. I've addressed this to you about your girlfriend coming here all the time, day and night, and now she's here every day. What he was doing was sneaking her in late at night, and that's how I will know that she snuck back in. There were times I came home from work, and she was already there when Ryan wasn't even there, so she had the key, obviously.
Okay, now let's go to November 9th.
November 9th, I confronted him. I said that this is just way too much. My other roommate wants to leave. He cannot take it anymore.
And
then he said, well, she isn't here. And my...
Okay, he said she wasn't here. Keep going.
Then he cussed at my friend who was visiting from Mexico. He said, get this bitch out of here.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt.
And,
okay.
I said, you can talk to her.
Okay, let's go.
Right. Then he went into his room. He came back. He brought a samurai sword with him. And he flashed it at me. I'm going to slice you in half like a butter.
Okay.
What? And I'm like shocked at that time, don't know what's going on with him because he's just changing character. I'm scared of my life. I'm scared of my guests.
Okay. And then what happened? So
And
he
then
came out
I said, you need to get out of here. You need to move.
And then he went back. He didn't do anything with the sword.
No, he didn't. He went back in the room with the sword. He put it there. Then he came back and he pushed me against the wall. As he was pushing me, I tried to block him by putting my two hands up. And when he pushed me, a bruise, I had a cut on my wrist, but there was a bruise.
Okay.
And
now,
I
at what
said I'm going to
point?
call the police.
Okay, so you called the police when he came back out of his room the second time, this time without the sword. And the police took a report.
Yes.
Do you have that report?
Yes.
I'd
right
like
here,
to see it. Mr. Davis, do you have a copy of the police report or
I
any
have it right
follow-up
here, too,
report?
Your
I'd like to see that too. Mr. Davis, where did you get the sword from?
My girlfriend at the time.
Which girlfriend?
Twana.
When did she get it for you?
She got it during my birthday, for a birthday gift.
When's your birthday?
October 31st.
And this happened on November 9th.
Correct.
Between October 31st and November 9th, did you have occasion to show Mrs. Zaidi prior to November 9th? So
Never,
between
Your Honor.
31st and the 8th, did you show Mr. Zaidi the sword?
Never, Your Honor.
Her landlord, Alex Zaidi, of causing a false arrest. Alex says Ryan threatened him with a samurai sword.
Okay. October 31st to November 8th, did you ever show Mr. Zaidi the sword?
No, Your Honor.
No.
No.
Okay. So unless he went into your room,
He went into my room.
unless he went into your room prior to November 9th, there was no way he would have seen the sword.
Correct.
Okay. And when did you go away on this business trip, sir?
On the 9th.
That day?
Yes, in the morning.
And on what day did you first see this sword that was in his room?
On the evening of November 9th.
That was the first time, not his
First,
birthday, not second day, not third day. Okay. Does his room have a lock on it, by the way?
From inside.
From inside. Mr. Davis, were you on probation at the time of this incident for something in Riverside
Yes,
that
Your
involved a fraud?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And that wasn't a fraud dating back to 2004?
It was dating back
No, it wasn't an incident.
for 2000 and, I believe, 15.
Okay. So when you told me before, and I'm not even going to have Whitney read it back, you said the last time you had this speeding little problem and evading police, I said, well, before that? And you said, yeah, I did before that in 2004.
Correct.
But that was a lie.
Which was like...
Just a second, that was a lie. You had another case involving a fraud in 2015 on which you were on probation, which means that you were either found guilty or took a plea.
Correct.
Okay. And when the police officer, Mr. Davis, took down your statement, you said that while you acknowledged that you had a samurai sword in your room, you said you had never shown it to Mr. Zaidi.
Correct, Your Honor.
You had never showed it at any time. Well, then how would he know that you had a samurai sword, sir, in your room when he called the police?
Because he was going in my room, I believe, when I was not there, going through my stuff.
Okay.
That's the only other way I can know that he was...
I'm not finished reading this, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
That's like the 2015 case. You just remembered. Do you have any other police reports that you'd like me to see, Mr. Davis?
Not a police report, but I have the bail bonds receipt that I paid. And
I'm not interested in your bail bonds receipt.
I have the DA reject.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, they rejected the case right here.
Yeah,
They refused
I'd like
to file
to see
charges. Your Honor, there's a conflicting story where he said he was left on the 9th because he was there 2 weeks with his guest prior to that. So how could he leave on the 9th if his guest was there 2 weeks prior to
I
the
asked
9th?
him when he left for his... Sir, you didn't understand the reason for my question. I wanted to know if he had been gone from October 31st, which was your birthday, to the 8th. That's why I asked him when he left on his business trip.
Correct.
And he said he didn't leave until the date of this incident. You want to say he left before?
He did
That would
leave
be
before.
interesting.
He
What?
did leave before.
He did.
Yes.
On what date did he leave?
I don't know the exact date, but I
A
know
week before, 5 days before?
it was maybe about a few weeks before.
November 9th?
Yeah, a few weeks.
Then he wouldn't have been able to see your sword because he wouldn't have been coming in and out of your room.
There from the 9th.
Well,
from
this
the
happened on the
31st
9th.
From the 31st to the 9th, he was there.
Well, you just told me he left 2 weeks before.
I'm saying he was gone before that date, and then on the 31st, between the 31st and the 9th, he was there at the place.
Okay, well, that's what he says. He said he was there, and the business was only 1 day. He left on the 9th, and he came home on the 9th. You said, no, he was there for 2 weeks before. Well, if he was there for 2 weeks before and you didn't get the sword until 31st of October, he could not have seen it by going in and out of your room. So you have to sort of get your story straight, sir. So he was there or not there, according to you?
He was there.
He was there?
Correct.
Okay, good.
His guest was also there for about 2 weeks.
Just who cares about his guest? He owns the house.
Okay.
Okay, it was a misdemeanor case and they declined to prosecute it.
Correct.
Your case is dismissed, Mr. Davis, for several reasons. It's dismissed because it was brought in an untimely fashion. It was brought 2 years after the fact for no valid reason.
Your Honor,
it's dismissed for that. It's dismissed for a second reason, because I find some of your testimony, sir, incredible. And one of the reasons I say that is because you were not forthcoming with a legitimate answer to me with regard to your prior history, which isn't always dispositive, but if you had something pending for evading the police, and you had something pending for evading the police while you were on probation for a crime for which you were convicted, either after trial or after hearing, do you understand? You would remember that. Are you still on probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, your case is dismissed. We're done.
This
You're
court is
making a
adjourned.
big mistake, Your Honor. You have guests over 2 to 3 weeks at a time, but I have a girl over for 3 days, and now it's World War III.
He was only allowed to stay there by himself, not with his girlfriend.
I never went at him with a samurai sword.
It was pretty scary.
He basically just used the system against me because I'm a person of color and I have a record already, so I fit the bill.
He had a criminal record. When I rented the room to him, he was asking for a second chance.
It's easier for them to lock somebody up who's already been to jail.
Nobody was renting him the room, and he was saying he's trying to start a new life.
I'm 6'1", 200 pounds. I wouldn't even need a weapon if I was going to assault him, but I never did.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
You know, there are so many lessons from this case, I think, Sarah. One of them is there's a reason that the law tells you to bring an action in a timely fashion, right?
Many reasons.
Many reasons. One is because it's not like an afterthought, you know, and there are reasons for delays. You were in a hospital, you go into the armed forces, but here there was no really legitimate reason for him not bringing this kind of case in a timely fashion. And the other one that's always a good thing to me, what did you think about his credibility?
Yeah, I think it's hard for a fact finder to believe the totality of your testimony if one of the first questions, just about a simple question of your prior history with law enforcement, if you have any pending charges, I think that's a very simple question. If you aren't fully truthful with the fact finder on that question, it makes it really difficult, and the rest of your testimony is now suspect.
That's true. And it's a good lesson, because sometimes you think, well, it's sort of an innocuous question. I don't have to get it. But if I, sitting as a juror in a case, see that somebody is fabricating a fact, and they want you to believe them. You know, they're saying it is, I want you to believe my last law enforcement issue was in 2004.
A long time ago, no run-ins.
Right, nothing else, and a speeding ticket. And
it sets the tone in a negative way, and it makes it difficult for the fact finder to find in your favor.
I'm glad. So you agreed with that.
Suing motorist Rachel Velasquez for property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2098, Shepard versus Velasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Velasquez, I'm going to start with you because the case is unusual and the case really starts with you. You were driving your car.
Correct.
And had an accident on the 13th of February of this year.
Right.
Tell me about it.
I was going west on...
You were driving?
I was driving.
First, at what time did this take place on
It
February
happened
13th?
at about 1 a.m.
Where were you coming from?
From my sister's home.
Anybody else in the car with you?
No.
What day of the week was February 13th?
That was on a Saturday.
So you were at some sort of a gathering at your sister's house?
I was at my sister's house, yes.
How many people were at the gathering?
There was just about maybe 10 of us.
And what time had you arrived at your sister's house?
Saturday, mid-morning.
Did you have dinner there?
Yes.
Any alcohol served all day?
Yes.
What kind?
Just a beer.
I wasn't there.
A beer?
My
Beer.
invitation got lost in the mail. What were you drinking?
I drank 2 beers, but that, again, mind you, it was at the afternoon.
Just a second.
Yes.
So you had 2 beers?
Yes.
Now you get into the car, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're on your way home, and see what happened.
Okay.
Traveling from your sister's house, maybe I'll make this easier for you. How far a distance is it from your sister's house to your house?
About 20 minutes.
And how far into the trip did this accident occur?
Like 15 minutes.
And tell me about the accident.
Okay, so I seen like a dog or something in the street. So as soon as I seen it.
Just a second. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you see something in the street. That's what you said.
Okay, well, it was something, but it turned out to be a dog.
So what did you do?
I swerved to not hit the dog.
You swerved to not hit the something.
But it was a dog.
Well, we're going to get to how you know that. So you swerved to avoid hitting the something, and you went into a house, went over a fire hydrant.
The fire hydrant, actually, when I hit the fire hydrant has pushed me into the house.
Fire hydrant, water, and you went into the house. The force of the fire hydrant didn't send you into the house, madam, unless you're telling me that the fire hydrant went and the water was such force that it pushed your car into the house, which I won't believe. Do you understand? So you swerved to avoid something in the road and were clearly going at such a speed that you went right into a house. Did you go through the wall of the house? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And that's what this case is about, because Miss Shepard is a renter in that house. And she says that everything of value that she had was destroyed because of the water and inundation. And your automobile insurance company paid the owner of the house for the damage to the house, but did not compensate Miss Shepard for any of her property that was destroyed. That's what the case is about. Correct. So now this dog becomes sort of interesting. You have a dog?
I do.
Now, you say that you swerved to avoid something that you subsequently said was a dog. Now you're in the house because that's where the car is. I assume that they had to get you out of the car. Or did you get out of the car on your own?
Yeah, my car was not in the house, but I was out of the car. I got out by myself.
Do you have photographs of the house?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at them. Oh, that's pretty much in the house.
Yeah, she went through 2 walls.
Yeah. Do you know how much money your insurance company paid out to the homeowner?
$5,000.
$5,000. Is this your car?
Yes.
And this is where it landed?
Yes.
Okay, now, you got out of the car, and what did you do?
I got out of the car. My sister, she was there too.
What do you mean your sister was there too?
She was following right behind me, because she's the one who she had seen the dog that I swerved to hit. She's seen the dog as well.
I'm talking to you. You got out of the car, and?
I went to walk to get my sister.
And?
And we waited for the ambulance to get there.
For whom?
For me.
What was wrong with you?
I had 3 broken ribs.
Where did you wait for the ambulance?
Right in front of the house.
Now tell me about the dog.
The dog, when the car came to a stop, I seen the dog run back into the yard.
Yeah. So you're crashing into the front of the house. Your eyes are in front of you. You're crashing into a house. You take down the whole wall. when you crashed into the house. And what you're telling me is you crashed into the house, and out of what kind of vision? You went through a wall. How did your eyes get to the backyard? You swerve. You go into, either you swerve because there's something in the road, or you swerve because you weren't paying attention, or you swerve because the beers that you had were too late in the day, whatever the reason that you swerved. But now you're facing the inside of a house. I want to know at what point you saw a dog run to the backyard.
Well, the car wasn't, I didn't hit head on. It was on the side. It was on the left side, the right side. It was on the right side. So when I hit it, everything went to the right side. I didn't hit it straight on, head forward.
This is your car.
But I did not hit it straight
This is
head
your
on.
car. So you're telling me your car was damaged before?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me, Miss Shepard, I'm sure you have a list of things that were destroyed. You did not have renter's insurance.
I did not.
And what happened when you submitted a claim to Miss Velasquez's insurance company?
Absolutely nothing. They never even got back to me on it.
Okay, I'd like to see proof that your insurance company paid the owner of the house.
I don't have that on me.
You have your insurance card here?
Yes.
Good, I'd like to see it. Did you make a claim?
I did. I did the day on February 14th.
Who owns this car?
I do.
What kind of car were you driving?
It's a 2017 Honda Accord.
Did they pay to have your car fixed?
No.
Did they cover it at all? You had a $500 deductible for collision. Did they pay for your car?
No.
You have medical records?
No, I didn't bring them.
Did the police respond to the location?
Yes.
Were you given a blood alcohol test or a breathalyzer test at the scene?
No.
Do you have a police report?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Okay, arrived at the scene at 2:30 in the morning. This was determined to be a solo vehicle crash with minor injuries involving an impaired driver. That impaired driver would be you, because she wasn't driving her house. Now, Ms. Velasquez, not good form when the police reports. Do you see the police report? Have you seen the police report?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the police report found that you were impaired at the time of the accident. It also indicates that the police officer immediately after the accident questioned you on a gurney in the hospital. And that was immediately after this happened. I'm going to read what it says. Party 1, Velasquez, was riding her Honda at 55 miles per hour while under the influence. It says at the time of your statement, Party 1, that's you, states she attempted to turn left because she was heading to her mother's house, but did not recall how she crashed. Certainly don't see anything about a dog here, only an impaired driver. Okay, and then later you told this police officer that you admitted drinking 3 beers early at her home. Police officer said he asked you whether you felt the effects of alcohol drinks, to which you replied yes. The officer conducted a limited number of field sobriety tests at the hospital, which Party 1 failed to perform. Party 1's objective signs and symptoms of intoxication, and you were placed under arrest.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I placed Party 1, that's you, under arrest for DUI.
Owes for property and water damage after Rachel's car ran over a fire hydrant and crashed into Whitney's home.
Something just came through my house. My house exploded. I'm stuck in here. I don't know what's going on. There is a car in my house. Oh my God. They hit the fire hydrant. They went through my house. I no longer have a house.
Okay. Did you receive a citation?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
No, ma'am.
Really?
No.
Well, then you want me to assume that when the police officer said that he placed you under arrest, and I can understand why they didn't remove you from the hospital, that you were subsequently given a citation, but you had to receive some sort of citation from the police, madam, unless you have medical records which indicate that the blood that they drew indicated that there was no alcohol in your system, because this police officer determined that you were drunk. And this police report has absolutely nothing about a dog causing the accident. It has you saying, I don't know what caused the accident. Yes. Okay. Ms. Shepard.
Yes.
The defendant is responsible for the damages done to your property. And so I've seen the extent of this damage done to the house. Were you able to stay in the house subsequent to this crash?
No.
Where did you go?
I got relocated to Corona. I'm renting a room in Corona.
And had you been renting the whole house?
Yes. Yes.
For how long?
10 years.
And what was your rent on the house?
$7.15 a month.
And in the 10 years that you lived there, you accumulated all your stuff?
Well, that and time before I lived there, but yes.
But for 10 years?
For 10 years,
Were you
yes.
able to take any of your furniture?
I got 3 pieces of furniture, which included my mattress.
That was okay?
It was okay.
Okay.
And I got an armoire that is ruined at the bottom from the water and a dresser that was ruined from the water.
The rest of the furniture in the house, did it belong to you?
It did.
Okay. So you had a table, chairs, eating?
Table and chairs, no couch. It was a small house, 457 square feet.
What about your clothes?
I have not seen my clothes since the day the accident happened.
Did the water infiltrate the house as a result of the fire hydrant?
Yes. I was trapped in that house for 4.5 hours. Me and my dog were trapped in the house for 4.5 hours. My dog was in bed with me, sleeping.
When you left to rent this room, did you take anything with you?
Well, the night the accident happened, when I was trapped for 4.5 hours, I was hiding because the fire hydrant was throwing big rocks onto the roof, and I thought the whole house was coming down. But I kept coming out and filling a backpack with things my grandchildren had given me and pictures of my grandchildren. I didn't even think to take clothes or anything out.
And you went right there to some place where you were relocated? Or did you
Yeah,
go
I
to
was
a relative?
relocated immediately. It was red tagged, and it took 68 days to get a yellow tag so I could hire a company.
Do you know how much the landlord got for the damage on this house?
She had insurance, and she's rebuilding right now.
So she had her own insurance?
She had her own insurance, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Velasquez, there's no question in my mind that your mind is fresher at the time of the incident than it is months and months later, when you've had a chance to reflect on why an accident is not your fault. You were questioned by police officers immediately after the incident. You responded, actually, to the police officers and told them what happened and told them that you crashed and you didn't know why. The police officers observed your demeanor. They determined that you were operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol. I don't know whether you have insurance or not. I don't know whether you had insurance on the date of the incident or not. But by your careless and reckless behavior, you've turned this lady's life upside down. She had a little life in a little house where she had all of her property, and you've turned her life totally upside down. She has nothing. And you're responsible for that. So if you had no insurance or if the insurance disclaimed, that would be your problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $10,000. We're finished.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was the correct decision, as it really could be the only decision.
I remember seeing the dog going through, but yeah, it was an accident.
I thought my house exploded, and I was in a house that was going to come down with my dog.
Luckily, I didn't hurt anybody.
I think anybody who would drink and drive isn't willing to take responsibility for their actions.
You know, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're a bug. Sometimes you're both.
As in this case.
That's really a trick. I have no idea what that insurance is.
A lot of fine print, I'm feeling, was probably the issue.
Yeah, but I cannot imagine if it was legitimate insurance, and she had legitimate insurance, except that she's got a $10,000 maximum on any sort of collision. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what it is. I actually feel sorry for that lady, don't you?
Me too. Everything in 500 square feet in a home that she's built.
And she's comfortable. She was comfortable in that.
No, exactly.
She has nothing. And I didn't see a whole bunch of remorse there.
Nope, me neither.
Case number 2033, Broussard Farrell versus Stigney. All parties, please step forward.
Tammy Broussard and Catherine Fierro are suing 21-year-old Alicia Stigney for travel vouchers and harassment.
Whose son was it who was living with the defendant?
My son.
Broad strokes, what I get from this. Is that your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Your son became involved, according to you, with the defendant. She has one child with your son and one child with someone else.
Yes, ma'am.
What I gather, there was a time that everybody was happy living together, and I believe it was your brother who was getting married in Las Vegas.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant at that time was put in charge of ordering the plane tickets for everyone to go. But the defendant was told to use someone else's credit card. And who was that?
That's Catherine Fierro's.
That was Miss Fierro.
Yes.
Miss Fierro is whom?
I am the fiancée to her brother.
In any event, the wedding did not come off as planned in Las Vegas. Parties did not use the flight tickets that you had booked with someone else's credit card.
Correct.
And you were given travel vouchers, and that's what they're suing for. They want their travel vouchers. That's it. So I just have a few questions. It's not a very difficult case. When you booked the flights for everyone, how many tickets did you book?
It was myself, my 4-year-old. The infant was a lap, so she would not count.
And your boyfriend?
At the time, yes. Roman.
Yes.
And then it was also Tammy Broussard, her daughter, and that was all.
Whose credit card did you pay for those tickets with?
It was Kat's.
That's you?
Yes.
And did you pay for those tickets?
They were put on my credit card. Yes, they were, Your Honor.
Did you, in fact, pay for them, is my question.
Yes.
I'd like to see proof that you paid for their flights. And if you have the following month's bill as well, did you ever receive a credit for those flights?
No, I did not.
On
I wasn't
your
aware
credit-
what happened until I asked the son, the flight, the airline, to send me this.
I'd like to see it.
There you go.
Because it's still on your credit card.
Yes.
Okay, so you received vouchers, according to this, that totaled little over $1,000.
Yes.
What did you do with them?
I did use them.
Just a second. You didn't pay for the tickets.
Correct.
So my question is, why didn't you turn the vouchers over to the people who actually paid for the tickets?
Fierro claimed 21-year-old Alicia Stigney owes for travel vouchers and harassment.
Now, did you discuss the vouchers with her?
I did not meet her until, I believe, early February when we left Las Vegas to go to Minnesota. And shortly after meeting her the day that we got there, she called my fiance, asked if we could watch the baby.
No.
When we did have a discussion about it, a slight one.
Only a discussion with you. I don't want to hear about any conversation.
Well, I did bring it up.
Well,
to
I'd
her.
like you to tell me what the discussion was.
When we came to watch her baby for the first time, she went to show me the baby's room where the diapers were, where the wipes are, and she was running around looking for wipes. And I said, I don't want to seem rude, but you do have the vouchers, correct, for the wedding. They were specifically meant for my wedding. And she said she didn't really have time to talk about it, that she was going out for the weekend to Rochester to go out and have fun with her. So she just left very quickly. Then we watched the baby a second time, and I decided to leave a little bit early to get to the house to watch the baby. And when we arrived, she was out the door. So she did not want to talk about it.
That's sort of speculation.
Yes.
I don't understand what the issue is. She paid for the tickets. You did not, but you used the vouchers.
I did.
Well, then she's entitled to be compensated for what she paid.
Your Honor, she also posted on Facebook trying to sell the tickets.
Well, I mean, I don't know. This is not rocket science. Am I missing something here? You booked the tickets but didn't pay for them. The wedding got canceled because of COVID. You got vouchers for what she paid for and you used them without any agreement. What is the issue here? Am I missing something?
I don't think so.
Would you tell me?
Yes. So back last year, I have the agreement. It was sometime, I think June or July. Tammy moved to Minnesota or to Austin.
Don't go off on a tangent. Listen to me.
Her apartment is in my name because she couldn't put it in her name.
Okay. And?
So they said, because later in February, Kat had now moved into Tammy's apartment with Tammy that is in my name.
Okay.
So they, as a thank you, they had said that they did not want the vouchers back, that I could use them. They also said that they would not able to use them before they expired in October of this year.
That is not true, Your Honor.
What do you mean they said? Those are two people.
Yes, Tammy and Kat. I had ran into Kat at Walmart sometime late March, I think it was, after me and the Romaine had broke up.
Whatever his name is, Romaine. Romaine and I broke up.
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure out why you didn't give her the vouchers when you got them.
We were still together, me and Romaine. We were planning on taking a trip this year.
What difference does it make? Were you supposed to pay for the tickets to Vegas?
No.
Was that your agreement, that somebody else was going to pay for them?
They agreed that they'd pay for them, yes.
Is that right?
To come to the wedding, not to go anywhere else, just
to come to the wedding, but the wedding was canceled.
Yes. Correct. And we did not speak at Walmart about anything about those.
what I have here are two charges, one for 320 and one for 538. Is that what you spent on the tickets?
Yes. And ma'am, I have something from June 18th on Facebook where she was trying to sell them on Facebook. And I had... I
actually, Ms. Brisson, don't understand why you're here.
I'm here because there's also a harassment. We have a police report regarding that.
Okay.
As well.
Okay, so with regard to your claim, she owes you $858 for the tickets.
Yes.
So that judgment is taken care of. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
The other part of the claim is for harassment. Do you want to tell me when this harassment started? I assume it was after your son and the defendant terminated their relationship. And if you indicated that you had a police report, I'd like to look at it.
Yes, ma'am. Here is the police report. And actually, the harassment had started.
Just 1 second. As far as this police report you gave me, the only thing that's complained about here, really from your end, initially, was the fact that your son's tax money was put in her bank account by mistake.
It was something entirely different because he doesn't have the evidence that he needs with that.
I don't care. I'm just telling you what the document is that you handed me as evidence of harassment. And the document that you handed me as evidence of harassment, the focal point of it is last week his tax return got deposited. Alicia withdrew all the money from the account, and this included $1,500 from the tax return and $1,000 that was in the account. That was the crux of your complaint against her. Well, that's not harassment.
Well, the harassment had started on April 27th, which is like a month after those two had broken up. It was a really nasty thing. I don't know, like it says in there, I don't know if it's coincidental, but she sped through a red or a yellow light, almost hit me once. Her boyfriend had been a total nuisance in my parking lot, blowing the horn.
Listen to me very carefully. If you feel as if you are the subject of harassment, file for a protective order. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. The defendant owes your co-plaintiff $858. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I was very nice to them, and they just disregarded all of that.
She's very upset because my son no longer dates her.
There was drugs involved where she couldn't get the credit apartment of her own.
I pay my own rent, I pay my own bills. I just have bad credit, and it's not even a drug-related thing.
I was nice and put their apartment in my name, and that didn't matter to them.
She's a thief. I mean, those tickets were meant for my wedding, and she used them for something else. It doesn't matter if you're nice or not, you give it back.
I wish they were all that simple.
Yeah, I mean, from reading the papers, I could tell there was some more conflict than I think we got into. But none of that underlying conflict between any of the parties had anything to do with the facts of the case. That she used someone else's credit card, she received a benefit that she did not pay for, and they were in.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton are suing Mary's brother, Michael Manry, for medical bills and personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2117, Farr Stockton versus Manry.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Manry, this is your sister.
Correct.
And that is her
fiance.
And you have a son who is 19.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many other children do you have?
I have 3 altogether.
How old?
One is almost 30, the other one is 18, and then I got the 19-year-old, which one here.
Okay. And your son, who is now 19, is the subject of this case. Who had custody of the children?
I got custody of Dakota now.
When did you get custody of the children?
Only when he was 18 years old.
Do you have those papers, sir?
Yes, I do.
May I see them, please? Okay. So this grants you, sir, legal and physical custody of Dakota Manry until further order of the court. So what this case is about now, and I assume from what I've read, that Dakota has certain special needs.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of his special needs, he is unemployed. Did he finish any sort of a high school?
He graduated.
He graduated from
Yes.
high school?
Yes.
Did he go to a special school?
He went to a regular school, but he was in special education.
And when he graduated, did he graduate when he was living with you?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what your case is about. At some point, according to you, you have a niece. And your niece wanted to have Dakota come and stay with her for a couple of days. You were at the time, according to your answer, sort of in between residences. You were evicted from one place and going someplace else?
I was in the process of moving. I got my niece to go with me to, ask her if she'll bring me to go get Dakota by my cousin's house. And she said, sure.
Okay. Dakota went to live for a few days, at least, at your niece's house.
No, not live there. No, not live there. No, ma'am.
Well, he was there overnight.
He was over there overnight.
How many nights was he there overnight?
I think about maybe a week. I was supposed to be
okay.
3 days.
So he was there.
Yeah.
During that time, you, who are his aunt,
yes, ma'am,
went to your niece's house and you saw Dakota there.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, became concerned because, according to you, it looked like he hadn't showered in a week.
He was in dirty clothes. He just looked awful.
So you decided to take him to live with you?
I asked him, I said, do you want him to the house to stay, a little while, where he can eat and all that? Because he looked like he hadn't ate either.
Okay. Well, this is what your case is about. You decided to take him, didn't discuss it with his father. During the time he was with you, he had some expenses. You want his father to be responsible for those expenses, and you want his father to return certain of his personal property. That's what the case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First, let me deal with all things legal. I have an order here dated January 21st, 2021, which grants physical and legal custody of Dakota to his father. Do you have any subsequent order granting you custody or guardianship, is my question.
I have power of attorney.
That is not the same thing. Can I see what they have?
Power of attorney when I didn't give her permission. I got custody. Okay.
Okay, this was signed by Dakota, so he's giving you legal power to act on his behalf.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Dakota, by signing this power of attorney, he's saying that I am a whole person, and I give you the right to make medical decisions for me if he can't do them. It's a general power of attorney in case he becomes unable to make decisions on his own. This is an order of custody. You have power of attorney. Power of attorney suggests to me that Dakota wants to emancipate himself from his father, wants someone else to act on his behalf. It becomes a complex question because if Dakota has special needs and if he can't act on his own, and a court has already ruled that his father should have custody of him, either you have a power of attorney and he's emancipated, in which case his father's not responsible for any of his medical bills, or this is invalid because he can't sign a power of attorney because he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand all of the implications of this power of attorney. Now, your nephew was in special classes.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know what the nature of his disabilities are?
Fetal alcohol syndrome.
Is that his diagnosis, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
He had, according to you, after you took him from your niece's house, and you do acknowledge you took him without his father's permission.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We was not talking, me and him.
It doesn't make any sense if you were talking or not.
I didn't have his number, and I asked Dakota, I said, text your daddy to let him know you're coming with me. Dakota said, and he showed me where he texted Michael. Now, I don't know if it was on a different Facebook page.
No, it's your responsibility to notify his guardian who has custody that you have taken physical custody of him.
Right.
And when did you take physical custody of him? Give me the month, day, and year.
May 20th of this year, 2022.
Now, while you had physical custody of Dakota, you indicate that he had surgery.
Yes, ma'am.
And part of what you want Mr. Manry to pay for is the ambulance bill. What kind of surgery did he have?
Brain surgery, and he had a feeding tube put in him.
Just a second. What caused you to take him to a hospital or to a doctor?
Your Honor, when he arrived at the house on the 20th, He had very bad slurred speech, and his balance was completely off. He was falling over. Your Honor, it was like he was a drunken man.
Let me go back to you for a second, sir. While Dakota was with you in the months just prior to May, did you notice Dakota having difficulty in his gait?
Not like he was explaining to me, I was going overboard.
No, did you?
But his balance was off. Okay.
Did you inquire? Did you take him to the doctor?
I did. I took him actually right after I got him.
So you saw that balance was off a while ago.
When I noticed that he had headaches, all right, because his dream, that thanks to me, was wrestling. He loves wrestling. I put him in wrestling. I talked to the promoters, and I did that for him. But when I seen every time he got body slammed, and this and that, I had to take him out of it. I got concerned because he was complaining of headaches. So I made him an appointment, and I waited for a referral. Well, when the referral came in, my kid was kidnapped.
So he never actually saw the second doctor?
No.
Okay. Do you have any records?
Well, I couldn't get the records. I tried to get them.
Once something went wrong, my kid died doing surgery. I couldn't even be there for him and all that. Anything could have happened.
Just a second. I'm following you, sir. Now, when did you take him for this brain surgery?
I took him the first week of June. I took him to do a CAT scan. And as soon as she did that, we went to the hospital. We didn't leave the hospital. They put him in the ER. And from the ER, we went to Florence, Alabama. And then the surgeons there couldn't do it because it was so big.
What was so big?
Your Honor, they found a mass the size of a grapefruit. The first week, Dakota came to stay with us after we noticed the balance issues and the slurred speech. She took him to doctor who diagnosed him with being severely malnutritioned. Your Honor, when he came to my house, his
liar.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your Honor, sorry. My apologies.
His leg was no bigger round than my wrist.
I got it. Mr. Manry, everything has to be put in perspective. You had a lot of things going on. And if Mr. Stockton's reporting to me is accurate, even though there might be some bad feeling of the way your sister and her fiancé took physical custody of Dakota, you really have to be in a position to say thank you to them, because you, for whatever reason, not for lack of trying, nobody is suggesting for lack of trying, you did try to take him to a doctor, you did see that there were things wrong with him. I understand that it's not always that easy to get the right specialist to get involved in this kind of surgery, but you really have to take a breath. Yeah. And I assume it's accurate, because I cannot assume that anybody would perform brain surgery on a child that was not necessary. That
okay, why she couldn't call me?
She should. Just a second. Just a second. Your sister should have called you and told you that Dakota was going into the hospital to have surgery. That would have been the nice thing to do. Did you do that?
She did.
No, she did not.
She called.
I called my mother.
Well, calling your mother.
His phone was disconnected. I did not have the new number until he called me or texted me with a bunch of drama. That's when I got his number.
You took my kid from me. You kidnapped my son no matter what.
Mr. Manry, what I want you to do is just take a breath for a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton claim Mary's brother, Michael Manry, owes for medical bills and personal belongings. Michael is countersuing, saying they illegally took his son from his custody.
Mr. Manry, Dakota was only at your niece's house for a short while. You already told me that when he came to you, his gait was off. So right before he went to stay for a couple of days at your niece's house, was his speech slurring?
No. He always had a speech impairment because of the disability, but his speech was not slurred at all. That is a lie. Him having the skinny arms and all, that's all
okay,
lie.
I'm not talking about skinny arms. I'm talking about his slurred speech. What I was saying to you, Mr. Manry, is that I don't think there are any bad guys here. I don't think that you're a bad guy. And I don't think that your sister and her fiancé meant any harm when they saw a situation that they thought was dangerous. And as it turned out, they were able to get him seriously needed medical care. That doesn't mean it was all done right. But what you're asking for is to be compensated by the defendant for the cost of the ambulance bill that you incurred. Now, this power of attorney was signed by Dakota, if in fact he had capacity to sign this power of attorney. It was done 2 weeks after his first surgery. So up until that time, even if I could construe this as a valid document, his father had legal and physical custody of Dakota. And I assume that's because he had special needs and is unable to live on his own. Is your son able to live on his own?
No, he never will.
Okay, so that's what I assume as a result of this order. If you want this order changed, you have to go back to the court in Mississippi. You have to be declared his guardian.
Your Honor, we did not want to be declared his guardian. The reason the POA came about to start with, during the entire surgical...
Your Honor, can I say something?
The father was aware of it. So was the mother. The mother was actually present at most all of the appointments.
It doesn't matter. The mother doesn't have custody, legal or physical.
We were under the impression, and were told she did, that he only had a temporary custody. So she showed up to say she had to sign all the documents. She was going to do this. She was going to do this. She was going to do this.
Did she sign the documents?
She signed some. Then under social services directions, Mary was informed she should go after a power of attorney. It was discussed with both Dakota and her.
It may be. That's not a lawyer. That's bad advice. Now, just before I get to the issue of clothing, property, whatever he has that's at your house and where it should go from here, your first stop is to go back to the court in Mississippi that issued this order.
Yes, ma'am.
And say to them, I need Dakota's law guardian. He'll be appointed a guardian for himself, independent of you, and they will interview him and they will do certain evaluations of him and determine where it is that he wants to live. But you have to do that in court. You can't do that ad hoc because you relied on his mother's statements that she had the authority to sign off on these things. She did not until this is changed. And if you want to change it, you are free to go in and try. And then Dakota will be interviewed and seen by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and he'll have a medical evaluation and determine whether or not he is a person who actually requires guardianship. And if he requires guardianship, you can petition for that, and you'll have a trial. This is not that trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Did Dakota have Medicare?
Medicaid.
He had Medicaid.
That would pay for the ambulance ride.
Yeah, I just want to know if he had Medicaid. He did.
I did give them the Medicaid number, and they keep sending me a bill, and I called them, and they said because it's a different state, it's not covered.
It doesn't matter. Tell them to send their bills to his father. Tell them that you do not have custody or guardianship of this child. His father has custody, guardianship, and this bill is not yours.
The bill is going to Dakota. They're going after Dakota for it. His Medicaid didn't pay for it.
They may be going after Dakota for it. They will be very smart seeking payment from people who can pay them, which is his parents. Right now, you're not legally responsible to pay for his ambulance bill. The only person who might be legally responsible for it is his father, and that will be up to the ambulance company to do. This is not your responsibility at all. So discount the ambulance bill. Next to Dakota's things, you want property that he has in his father's house. So let me go back to you with regard to my statement to you 4 minutes ago. You have to have this custody order modified. You have to go back to the same court that issued a legal and physical custody order of Dakota to his father and say, we would like guardianship of him. He wants to stay with us. He's 19 years old. He will be interviewed. He'll be analyzed. And if at the end of the day you get guardianship of Dakota, then his father may or may not turn over whatever property he has. Dakota's never worked. So whatever property he has was either purchased or given to him by either his mother or his father or other relatives.
A lot of it was his mom that paid for the stuff.
I don't know that.
No, the bottom line is why all this boils down to, Your Honor.
So far, Mr. Manry, you're not losing this case, so I don't know what you're agitated about. You're not losing. You're not losing. What I'm telling the plaintiffs is that if they think that they can provide a more pleasant, stable environment for Dakota, they have the right to petition for guardianship of him. Now, it would be in Dakota's best interest long-term if he were to have contact with both his mother and his father. Contact. I'm not saying live with. Mother, father, and his aunt, and his soon-to-be uncle, as soon as you make up your mind and give her a ring. It's in his best interest. He needs the largest community that he can.
I agree.
Okay, we're going to stop throwing barbs because that only serves to inflame already raw emotions.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton have accused Mary's brother, Michael Manry, of owing for an ambulance bill. Michael claims Mary and Jason took his son without his permission.
What I'm telling you is a very simple procedural thing where you have to go. You can't sue him for the return of Dakota's things unless you have guardianship of Dakota.
Understood.
Because he already is the subject of a recent order of custody from a court. That's what you have to have. You can take that bill from the ambulance service, put it in an envelope, we'll get you the address, and that's where that goes. That's his father, who is his legal parent under this order. So send that bill to them so you don't have to worry about that bill. As far as his property is concerned, that has to go along with an order of custody or guardianship. And that's something that you should do. But, Mr. Manry, I am not making a decision with regard to his custody or not. What I'm asking you is, until a court reviews whatever orders they're going to make with regard to custody and guardianship, first, I know you may be angry, but they probably saved his life by getting him to the doctor that they did. And if they removed a massive tumor from his brain, you should say, thank you for doing that, because it was a month after he was living with you. Someone else took your son and saved his life. And for that, at least, you have to be grateful. You can be angry. You can be angry that you didn't get it done before. You can be angry that somebody else did it without consulting you. You can be angry at all of those things. But at the same time, you have to feel grateful that it was done.
There wasn't no reason they kidnapped my son.
Okay, Mr. Manry, you keep going back to the same song.
I was worried
You
about
keep going back to the same song. And what I'm saying to you is, their next stop, if Dakota wants to live with them, and he's right now over 19 years old, is to the court who issued the order to modify that order. All I'm saying to you is, I want you to say, I am angry that I wasn't consulted or didn't participate in this massive surgery that your son had. But I'm grateful that it was done, because if it wasn't done, in all probability, he wouldn't be here. You just have to think about that. What I'm telling you is, you have to love your child more than you, at this moment, dislike your sister and her fiance, because they were able to take control of a situation and get your child fixed. So is Dakota, just for my own, is Dakota angry with his father?
He's angry that his father won't return any of his wrestling. He is correct. He is a huge wrestling fanatic.
Okay. What particularly does he want? He wants his wrestling?
He wants his wrestling belts. They have replica belts that were made. He wanted his PlayStation 4 and the wrestling game.
PlayStation 4, I'm not interested in that. He wants his wrestling belts.
Yes, ma'am.
Yana, can I show you something right quick on my phone? Dakota kept texting me, you know, he kept on like video chatting me and everything. And then all of a sudden, like a light switch, he changed and everything. The boy's mind's being poisoned by Mary and Jason.
What I'm telling you, Mr. Manry, that's for another court and another day. When Dakota has a lawyer, you may have a lawyer to modify this custody order. Right now, he would like his wrestling belts.
Oh, I want my son to come home.
Okay, then I strongly urge you to go to the court, file a petition against them for custodial interference, or you go to court and file an application for guardianship of Dakota, which is a much more positive thing to do, and let a court that has the social work services, the psychiatric services, evaluate Dakota and figure out in whose best interests are we supposed to place faith. And I think if he is a thinking young man, and you told me that he is because he wants these things that are important to him, he should be able to have a say with whom he lives. Now, you have my ruling. Your next stop, folks, is to modify the order of the court in Mississippi that gave his father custody, physical and legal custody of him. You have to petition for guardianship. That's your next step. So, in that regard, your case is dismissed. Send the ambulance bill to his father.
They got a counter-suit.
We're done.
Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it, sir.
Okay. I did everything I can for my kids, and
My brother, he said nothing but lies.
when somebody takes your kid without your permission,
But, you know, that's him. I mean, that's what he does.
you don't know where they're at, and you're going crazy because you don't know where your kid's at, that's kidnapping.
I should get a thank you out of it, but he's not going to do that.
I want my son to come home to his daddy because I love him very much. That's my son.
It's about him. It's not about her. It's not about her and her brother. It's not about me and her brother.
My son, I love him. I'll do anything in the world for him.
It's about Dakota.
So you didn't listen to the defendant's counterclaim back there for emotional distress for, I believe it was $3,500. I would have given that to him. I don't think anyone was acting maliciously in this case. Like you said to the father, he should be grateful that his son is alive and his sister took action when he might have been stumbling a little bit. But that's what that cause of action is for, when someone takes an action that was legally incorrect. And here, the plaintiffs had no legal right to take him to get that surgery. I agree that he should have had it and it all came from a good place. However, when you take an action that causes somebody else such severe emotional distress, and I would consider taking someone else's child in for the riskiest surgery that probably exists, qualifies as causing some severe emotional distress. So I probably would have awarded him that if I was ruling.
Well, so let me give you the reason that I didn't bother to hear it. I think the aunt and her fiance had nothing but pure motives in taking this 19-year-old who they say appeared to be malnourished and they say was diagnosed as being malnourished, which is possible, and it's possible that it was all related to this brain tumor that he clearly had that was impairing his stability, and he was with his father for a year while this tumor was growing. I don't think that they had malicious intent.
Neither do I.
And I think that but for their actions, this 19-year-old boy probably would be dead. If they took out the tumor that was the size of a grapefruit, I would say 6 months later or 8 months later, there's a strong probability that would affect the optic nerve, affect the carotid artery, and gone. So although I could understand his annoyance, from the time they went to live with him until his surgery was a month. And I actually don't believe that this father didn't know where he was for a month, because they evidently have a living mother who they're both in touch with. He was moving around, phone disconnected. At the hospital, the mother showed up. She said, I can sign the documents. Well, you know, you're involved in major surgery for a child. Your focus is not on your brother, who did not take care of business for a year. So I'm going to leave that up to a family court judge to determine who should have custody, and I probably guarantee you that custody will remain with his aunt, because that's what Dakota wants. Father may be angry, but that's what's going to happen. I have no doubt that the father loves him. He did not take good care of him for the year.
Sure.
And so I wasn't going to reward that by giving him any money against these people who had nothing but the child's best interests, when for a year he really didn't take care of business with his son. And that's why I didn't hear his case for emotional distress.
Understood.
Brenda Langley is suing business owner Amber Howard for damages and defamation to her pet daycare business.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2173, Langley versus Howard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Langley, your complaint states that you live in a rural area, 13 acres. Your business is pet sitting.
Correct.
The property that you own does not have running water.
Correct.
So all the water for your property has to be trucked in.
Yes.
The defendant is the owner of? The
owner's wife.
The same thing. They own a water business where they deliver by truck massive amounts of water, and you had used them for a period of time. Prior to Labor Day of 2021, when this incident occurred, how long have you been using the defendants?
Probably about a year.
And how often do they deliver water to your property?
4 times a week. Usually 3 times for the pool and once for the house.
Okay. And each time they came, was that on a set time during the week?
We tried to get a set time, but it varied quite often.
Okay. Would they call before they came?
No.
For the year that you had them, when they came, did you pay them at the time that they came?
Yes, I did. Oftentimes we paid in advance. So we paid for the entire week.
So you either paid in advance or you paid at the time of the delivery?
Yes.
Did you give them a check or cash?
Check.
Now let's get to Labor Day 2021. On what day were they supposed to come?
I believe it was the 4th of September. It was on a Friday.
And who was at home to accept the delivery?
We didn't know when they were coming, but I had taken my employee out to lunch, and I called my nephew, who was there holding down the fort, and told him if they deliver water, let them know I forgot the check, so they can either deliver or come back later.
Well, you live in a rural area. Coming back later is a big inconvenience because you forgot the check.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, it happened that it was a big inconvenience because you went out for lunch and you left a nephew. They came, the check wasn't there, and they left with the water. Now, what time did you come?
I wasn't the one who delivered the water. It was my husband, but I believe he had came.
No, he'll tell me.
Oh, okay.
So this was about a year and a half ago. I don't remember the exact time, but it was an AM delivery because we were going out of town Friday evening, going up north. So I was trying to get done with our route fairly early so that we could get
So the first time you came to the house was in the morning?
That's correct.
Not lunchtime?
No, it was probably somewhere around 10 a.m. if I was to guess.
Okay. And when you got there that one time, the nephew was there?
That's correct.
And tell me what happened.
Well, the nephew, for starters, is about 12 years old. And the reason why we don't necessarily have a time frame for businesses is because if it's between business hours, when we show up and if they need water, usually that shouldn't be an issue for the business.
Don't give me a whole story, sir. The nephew was 12 years old, okay, and he was left in charge of the pets.
That's correct.
Okay, so the nephew was left in charge of these animals, and when you came, there was no check. What happened?
It wasn't even about the money, the reason why I left. The reason why I showed up there is he was talking on the phone, and he said, we are not ready for water right now.
He was on his phone?
Yes.
Where did this conversation take place?
Near the pool, the dog pool. And we were actually taking 4,000 gallons. So I brought my big truck. I'd bring 2,000 for the doggy pool and then 2,000 for the house because it was a holiday weekend, so I had to make sure that we got him enough water to last through the holiday weekend.
Okay, and I assume that the plaintiff was satisfied with your service because she had continued with your service for over a year.
Yes, that's correct.
That's according to you. That's according to you. You had been satisfied with their service because if you weren't, you would have found somebody else. But you had been satisfied with their service. According to you, you paid them in advance or on the date of the delivery. On Labor Day, September 4th, you left your 12-year-old nephew there.
12, but...
Well, how old is he, 13?
He's 15.
So what? What's the difference?
Okay,
well, maybe he's 15 now. Maybe he wasn't in 2021. So the nephew said to you, we're not ready for water delivery now.
That's
Is
correct.
that what you're saying? Now, your business have a phone?
Correct.
Did the plaintiff ever call you and say, I'm home now, I'm sorry, there was a mix-up?
No, so what happened, I showed up there, he wasn't ready for water. I told him, I go, that is...
What do you have to do to get ready for water?
For their purposes, I believe it was to try to use up as much as they can.
No, don't tell me what you believe. I want to know what you have to do to get ready for a water delivery. Do you have to open up a spigot? What do you have to do?
Okay, so basically they're holding tanks that are in basements or in the ground. So normally nobody even has to be there, 90% of our customers. This particular case, one of their tanks is in a basement, which doesn't have an alarm. So in order to fill their tank up, somebody has to be down there with a radio to radio up to us to know when to shut the water off.
Okay, so that would have had to have been the nephew who was between the ages of 12 and 15, would have had to have been in the basement.
That's correct.
Okay. And when you came onto the property, he said, we're not ready for a water delivery.
That's correct.
And he would have had to have been in the basement.
That's correct.
So you left.
Yes. Correct.
What happened next?
Your Honor, I told him that it's not that big of a deal. I got a few more stops. I'm going to go do those stops and then I'll come back. And then hopefully you'll be ready and your aunt would be ready for water at that time. So I went and did my 2 stops. So I used up another 4,000 gallons. I filled back up. Went back to their house. At this time, it was probably somewhere around 12. And again, he said, we're still not ready for water.
So you went back again at noon?
Between 12 and 1, I would say.
And the plaintiff wasn't home?
That's correct. Again.
How many hours passed between the first delivery and the second?
It takes me about 45 minutes per stop. And I know I did about 2 stops, about an hour and a half it took me before I was back there.
And for that hour and a half, she didn't come back. So it was either a very late breakfast or a very early lunch.
That's correct.
Okay, so now they go twice to deliver water to you, and you're not there, and neither is your check. So now you tell me what happened next.
Kyle called me. First, he doesn't have a phone, but we do have a business line. So he called me on the business line and told me that the driver just left. He goes, I don't know where he went. He said, I think
Who told?
Kyle.
Who was that?
I'm sorry. He's my nephew.
Your nephew called you. What time?
Well, our lunch is...
What? You went before lunch. because he was there earlier in the morning.
We did not go before lunch. We went 12:30 to 2. The dogs always nap 12:30 to 2.
Okay.
We separated the dogs.
How many
We went
times
to
did they?
lunch and we were
how many
5 minutes
How
away.
many times did they come to your house to deliver water?
According to what I was told, I wasn't there. 2.
Well, that's what he says. He came
said 3.
twice. We haven't gotten to the third yet, but he came twice to your house and you weren't there.
Correct.
You're supposed to wait for a service. You're supposed to be there ready for the service. That would be on you. That's not on them. That's on you. They came when they were supposed to deliver water, and you weren't there, and you left somebody who was not equipped to deal with the situation in charge. And what happened was you didn't have water potentially over the holiday weekend because they were going away, so you had to scurry to find other water.
Correct.
That's what this case is about.
Business owner Amber Howard defamed her pet daycare business. Amber is countersuing for negative reviews Brenda made toward her business.
Okay, so according to you, a year later, you heard something about their business, so you wrote a negative something about their business on the internet. You'll tell me what that is in a moment. And in retaliation for that, they posted a negative comment about your business, alleging something that had to do with the animals. So that's what this case is about. Your use of the internet to make trouble. You, a year later, according to you, only posted one negative review. Is that right?
Correct.
And that was a year later.
Yes. Do you want me to tell you why? Because they take the reviews down. You can't leave it. I tried right
all
away.
I'm asking you is, I don't want to hear shoulda, woulda, coulda. A year later, you posted a negative review about them. So I'd like to see the review and why you waited a year. You had had a full year of positive service from these people, and the day that you had a problem with them was your fault. I just determined that. It was your fault.
Okay.
So I want to see what you said about them. Miss Langley, so I read this thing. It says, funny how this shows up as a recommendation. Apparently, they took the rating system off their page. They were always shorting us on water for the pool. Well, you used them satisfactorily for a year. So I think that that's baloney.
We had a couple run-ins over it.
Once when I complained, the driver said my nephew told him to stop. What is that about? Once when you complained about what?
About the pool being short on water.
Just what did your nephew have to do with them? Your nephew is hardly a teenager. What did your nephew have to do with discussing
Nothing,
things
really.
with the bro?
Nothing. He would help them sometimes bring the hose in and things like that, but he was just a helper every once in a while.
Well, what does that mean?
He didn't have anything to do with it.
Once when I complained, the driver said my nephew told him to stop. Video surveillance proved he was lying. No one ever approached him and no one spoke to him. I showed the owner the video and he didn't seem to care. The last straw was when the owner, that would be them, left for a holiday weekend and we had no water and low pool water. Well, that would be your fault. You don't say that here. It just makes it appear as if they left and left you high and dry, but they came at least twice. He's going to tell me a third time, probably, to deliver water, and you weren't there. When my nephew asked if we could pay next week, he got in his truck and left. That's also your fault.
If you would have communicated, I could have brought the money. We were 5 minutes away.
Just a second. That puts the onus on them. Why weren't you there? This is all on you. This isn't on them. No conversation, no phone call, not even a curse word. I called his wife to find out what happened, and she said they were going out of town for the weekend. And you put in parentheses, too bad. Well, you're allowed to go out. You're allowed to go out for lunch when their delivery is coming without a check, but they're not allowed to go out for Labor Day for the weekend. I immediately called a competitor to bail us out. Thank God he took mercy on us and came out right away. We have had excellent service with a competitor ever since. It could have been catastrophic to try not just to live but run a business with no water over the holiday weekend. You should have been home to get your delivery. And so,
can I say something?
Sure.
I always paid. They knew I was good for the money, and nobody has to be there when they deliver water. We don't watch them deliver water, except for maybe in the house, and Kyle was there to receive it.
Just a second. He just told me that one of the water tanks is in the basement. Somebody has to be there in the basement in your house. If your preteen or post-teen nephew was on the telephone, didn't want to be bothered at that moment, that ain't his fault. That's your fault that you left somebody incompetent when you were supposed to get a water delivery. All I'm saying to you is, this is nasty a year later. Nasty. And for no reason. I don't hear a reason why this a year later. You want to tell me?
I had heard about some bad business practices, so it got me upset again. So I decided to look and find a way to put a review on. They had taken their reviews off the page. So immediately I wanted to put a review on there, but they have it down as a recommendation.
Who cares?
So that's when I left.
I just still don't understand why a year later you stir this up. So for a year, you were getting water from a competitor. You cut off their system. They seem to be still surviving. You're still in business?
Yes. Yeah.
They're in business without you. You're in business without them.
Right.
Okay. So this is nasty. Okay. Now, as a result of being nasty, they wrote a review about you, which is why you're here.
Yes.
About your business.
Yes.
May I see that review?
About her statement saying that she only gave us one bad review, we have proof that we have multiple bad reviews, not just the one, over that course of a year and a half.
May I see, and I'd like to see them. Did you write more than one negative review? Okay, I'm going to take a look at them.
That's what I posted. Oh, I'm sorry, this is what I posted right here. I gave you the wrong copy.
Oh, well, this is a different one where you say last water haulers suggested we had to kiss whatever or they would not show. They rarely answered a call or a text in a timely manner. I was even late to a party posted at my home. I had zero water and couldn't shower, couldn't get in touch with anybody. The last straw was Friday. They dropped us on a holiday weekend and said that they would see us on Tuesday.
I don't think that was a review, Your Honor.
Was this not a review?
I don't believe so.
No, it wasn't a review. It was a comment.
Yep.
It was a comment. Mm-hmm. It was still out there, alive, out there.
Linda Langley has accused business owner Amber Howard of defaming her pet daycare business. Amber claims Brenda created negative reviews a year after their dispute ended.
I'm looking to see what you posted about her.
He's got it.
You go, Judge.
Okay, so you posted this on October the 30th, and this is on a Facebook?
Yes.
We used to supply water for the puppy pool here 3 times a week, and our drivers witnessed on multiple occasions the staff mistreating dogs in their care. They would see on multiple occasions dog feces in the pool before they would fill it up. We were going to send our dog there before we knew all this, but I told our dog was too small and they could not accommodate him. Now that I know the kind of business they run, I'm thankful I kept my pet out of their care. I would think twice before sending your beloved pet there. And then Lucky Puppy, that would be you. Funny, I just gave you a poor review on your page. The difference is our review was true. Your review is defamation of character. You can remove your untrue statements or you can be sued. Your choice. So now I'm going to ask you sort of the same question. The incident happened on Labor Day of 2021. October 30th, and that would be of 2022?
Correct.
So between the time that they ceased to be customers of yours and a year later, what happened that caused you to write this negative review?
So as you can see in the evidence I gave you, she all the time was just saying negative things about our business. We never had said anything about
so it was,
business.
Just a second. So the answer was, it was tit for tat.
Correct.
It was tit for tat. She was writing negative reviews about your business. Mm-hmm. So you wrote, which I just determined were untrue. So you wrote a negative review about her business.
Correct.
A year later. I mean, if you were really concerned about the pets, you would have written it immediately. So it was really a tit for tat. You
Correct.
got tired.
She wrote that review on my page, so I decided to write a true review about her page.
Perfect. So did I get that all right? Good. A pox on both your houses.
May I say something, please?
Sure.
So what she accused us of is illegal.
Just a second.
We have to keep sanitary conditions, and we have
Just a second. How do I know that one of their drivers didn't report seeing feces in the pool? How do I know that?
I've been there before and asked them why they didn't need water that currently week, that they're going to need it, the 2,000 gallons on Wednesday like they normally do. And he said, we just had to get the dogs out just because we realized there was feces in there. They said it happens a few times a year. So it was not a statement.
Whatever. It's their business, madam. Just like this is your business. If you run a dirty place,
I don't. That's the whole thing.
Just a second.
My
they don't run an irresponsible business. In your reviews, you're suggesting that they are irresponsible and also thieves, because in one of your reviews, you say they were shorting us on water.
Yes, they were.
That's what you say. And you said it not only a year later, you said it during the course of the year. And it was their business. Their business is as important to them as yours is to you. So if you're going to weaponize these reviews, then you both deserve what you got. You're not supposed to do that. If you were legitimately concerned about the dogs, you would have reported it right away. What this was tit for tat, so you deserve each other. Claim and counterclaim are dismissed. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
My thing was that they accused us of breaking the law, and it was totally untrue. My statements were true. Whether they were in the wrong or not, they were true statements, and hers were complete fabrication.
I mean, we had been dealing with it for about a year and a half, so I was just really shocked when I received the paperwork in the mail, since I did delete the review, since she did threaten to sue me, so I did delete it.
Look at reviews, and if you can't find them, go somewhere else.
I wanted both of us to be successful businesses, because we live in a small community, and our businesses do not, we're not in direct competition with each other. So I wish her well, and I would hope she would wish our business well.
People like me just learn to look at a restaurant and see what the reviews are. And you sort of assume that people of goodwill, if they're going to post something that's negative, it's because they had a negative experience. And I think it's such a shame that it's become a way to weaponize legitimate reviews where the plaintiff in this case, had absolutely no clue that the problem on Labor Day was her fault.
Yeah.
She had a perfectly reasonable relationship with them for over a year. She said they paid him in advance. She never said anything about shorting water.
It's just the power of the internet. I mean, now today, I know there are people that will cancel businesses for reasons completely unrelated to the business. But if you act out, you say the wrong thing, you display a negative character trait in public, people will go to your business's page completely unrelated to anything in the business and just flood the page. I'm talking thousands. They will get thousands of people to write bad reviews about a business, especially if something went viral or if the owners of the business, if they were in a viral video that was not nice. It's the power of the internet and cancel culture.
Well, the internet can be a tool for good and wonderful, or as we know, it can be a very dark place.
Yep.
But it can't be a very dark place without mean-spirited or bad people.
Yeah.
And there are mean-spirited and bad people. I don't know how you protect yourself from something like that. I really don't know how you protect yourself.
The consumer has to be smart in reading the reviews and how much weight they're giving reviews. I like when businesses respond to especially the negative reviews. And sometimes they're funny because if the defendants had responded to the plaintiff's review publicly, so people like you and I who were thinking about using them for water delivery could see it, they'd say, oh, interesting. We called twice and you weren't home and you didn't have our money.
That's the response.
And so I like to see that because it calls out the person who left the negative review. But obviously there's downsides to a business. You don't want to get into a back and forth with every person that leaves a negative review. But sometimes